Welcome back to the Mind'em podcast. If you're new here, my name is Greg. I'm the host, and I get a chance to sit down with early stage entrepreneurs to talk about their journey from maybe working in a corporate life and taking that leap into starting something for themselves. This week, I was very fortunate to sit down with Ashvin Praveen. He's the CEO and co-founder of Cleave.ai. My producer got pretty mad at me about this one because Ashvin and I were chatting for almost 4 hours. So with that in mind, I'm not going to give too much of an introduction here. You're going to have to listen on for yourselves. So, without further ado, this is Ashvin Praveen, the CEO and co-founder of Cleave.ai. I hope you get as much value out of it as I did.
So Ashvin, 26.
You're 20.
Originally from Sarawak,
26.
so Miri.
Yeah.
Moved to KL about 3 years ago after university, and then started an agency initially, and then 2 years later started an AI startup to kind of do everything that we were doing at the agency with AI and disrupt ourselves before we got disrupted. That's the high level story, yeah.
That's it, done. Okay, over and out.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on. Bye.
Nice.
All right, so you obviously Miri isn't exactly a massive place. Just check on levels. Yeah, it's good. How did you end up here in KL? Was it always intentional that you wanted to leave Miri?
No, not really. I think I did have a bunch of friends that I met along the way who were based in KL, and then I've always kind of like been excited about moving to a big city, seeing what life is like, and then building businesses. I think the opportunities in the kind of niche areas that I'm interested in, which is like largely revolving around content creation and stuff. The opportunities kind of existed. Like there were more opportunities potentially in places like KL, where the markets are a bit more mature as well. And then also the proximity to Singapore. So it's just kind of like a business decision, kind of.
A bit. How old were you when you moved to KL?
23. Yeah.
So going back like to Miri, the whole purpose of this is I really want to understand your story going from somewhere like Miri that probably many people haven't heard of before, and then you end up in making a decision to move out like a small town. Maybe I'm projecting here because obviously I grew up in a small town in the middle of Wales, and now I'm 10,000 kilometers across the world, right, in Malaysia. So I think breaking out of that kind of friend group, were you hanging around with people of a similar mindset, like they're really interested in pursuing things outside, or were you kind of like the black sheep of the group?
I think growing up, I don't know, I think the world in Sarawak is quite different, and like the culture growing up as well. I was in a school where I think the average, it was a normal government school, and then the average income range as well is like, I think slightly at the poverty line or slightly below household income. So I think a lot of people just don't have the opportunity as well to be able to make these big dreams as well. So I'm very privileged to be able to have that kind of opportunity to think bigger as well, and like do things that I guess ultimately I think my ultimate goal in life is to just try to do some level of work that helps with this kind of situation.
Okay.
But yeah, like I think it was not very common, I guess. And I think even growing up, like entrepreneurship and like business, all this kind of stuff was very foreign concepts, which I felt were always out of reach and were never really relevant to me. I think you also kind of grow up in an environment where, in Sarawak, for example, the most highly paid or most prestigious jobs are typically your engineering jobs, given the oil and gas industry and stuff like that, or medicine, or I don't think even law was that prestigious in Sarawak. So yeah, it was pretty much everyone just goes to study engineering and just like does engineering and works as an engineer, and that's considered like the best thing that you could do in that situation, right? In that location. So yeah, I think I first came to KL to study German. So for a while.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was going to ask you about this.
Right.
Because I was watching a YouTube video you did, I think it was 4 months ago or 2 months ago, day 316 or something of building Cleave, and you like, we're just launching all this new stuff, it's version 2.0, Cleave is awesome. Like you can shorten it, you can edit like just specific parts of it. Like, oh, you can even change the language on it. And like, oh, you can just change it to German. And then you start rattling off some German. And I was like, what is happening? I was like, that's pretty cool. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So I had to ask you about that.
Yeah, it comes in handy. We've got a bunch of users in Germany as well, so that video actually resonated.
Okay, was that
really
was
well
that
with them.
intentional?
It was intentional, yeah.
Was it?
Because apparently the personal branding and business scene in Germany is really, really strong.
Really?
Yeah, and like the demand, like we actually, in the whole of Europe, I think it's Germany and Poland, which are our biggest user-based countries. And in Germany, like LinkedIn in Germany, everyone posts in German. Right, so it's actually like it's very different from the rest of the world. And I think if you're not from Germany or you haven't like connected with people from Germany, you wouldn't realize this. But LinkedIn is actually, and like social media in general, we always kind of assume everyone just speaks in English.
Yeah, yeah.
Like there are huge communities and where they just really speak in their native language. And I think that's kind of like where with Cleave we also, given the fact that we're also an international team. Like me and my 3 co-founders, interestingly, like one of us is Malay, one is Chinese, one is Indian. So
it's like the UN of Malaysia, basically. Yeah, nice.
So we were kind of thinking of like, okay, how do we leverage kind of like our diversity as well in
Yeah.
building products for the world? And that's kind of where, building language tools for, and we speak like, I think like 8 or 9 languages between us. So
Are you like 8 of them though?
No.
And then the other guy's just like, oh, we can speak English. I'd love that.
But yeah, like I think that's kind of a sidetrack, but I think where a lot of AI products and like tools in general,
Yeah.
I think where that's kind of going is we're gonna have a lot less kind of like English centric products, especially as the rest of the world's economy is kind of rising. So we're gonna need to have more builders who are just very diverse and like understand deeply the nuances of cultures across the world. And yeah, that's just something interesting. But yeah, like building for international audiences has always been kind of fun and interesting. And you just have so many interesting conversations in customer support. Like I've spoken to people fully in German for like throughout customer support. It's just so interesting. And most of the time they can't understand what I'm saying, but
You basically, okay, I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah.
But at least you're trying, right? So,
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
that's awesome. I would like to learn more and get on to like Cleave, where it came from, like how it all came about. Don't worry, we will get there, and you can give us the solid pitch. I'm ready to buy. I really am. I think I'm just a bit more curious again. Obviously, engineering being like that, the peak kind of job that you would go for, or something like that. That industry in Miri, then moving away from that, and obviously in Asia, there's a certain ranking of jobs for certain kind of a demographic, right? You got lawyer, doctor, engineer, and you went engineer.
Yeah,
Then flipped
very
it out.
much.
Are you mechanical, electrical?
mechanical
Engineer. Then you went from that. I want to ask you about your soldering days and just going around destroying things in the house. But then you like flipped onto marketing, and you got like this. Would you call it a passion for like the marketing side of things as well? So you've gone for engineering, but then you kind of pivoted away from it. It's like,
yeah, it's been interesting. I think like throughout my whole life, I guess, like design and marketing and visual stuff has always been kind of interesting to me. In fact, when I was in like high school, there was one engineering competition we went for, right? And we had to design these like Formula 1 cars and like and race them against each other kind of thing. I mean, like miniature cars, right? F1 in schools. And interestingly, me and my team, we went through that project and through that competition. And they give out lots of awards on top of like the ones that are fastest cars. We didn't get fastest car at all. The only award that we won was best branding.
who was in charge of branding?
That was me.
Yeah, of course.
So,
Mate, that's such a leading thing to say. Like, come on now.
yeah. So I was like, I think at the point where I was trying to decide what to study, it was like graphics design, marketing, or like engineering.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't see what graphics design and marketing was like in the real world. But I could see engineering very clearly because like I was surrounded by so many people who were in that. So yeah, I just went for the engineering side. Yeah, which was, I think, not exactly a bad decision. I really enjoyed my degree, actually. I really enjoyed engineering, actually. I enjoy building things. I'm always like hacking things around the house, like physical things as well. I used to build.
What was the most expensive thing you broke in the house? That you
broke?
that you took apart and be like, don't worry, I'll put this back together.
Yeah,
and
probably my car.
Really?
So we had an issue where
Hang on a minute. I want to
like
in my mind, you've gone, what can I do today? And you've never touched anything in the house before, and like immediately you just go for the biggest thing you can think about. Like it's like you didn't even start small. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna go for the car.
Yeah, it's literally I just had to send it back to the mechanic after. Yeah, I tried changing the radiator fan myself.
Okay.
And it was a pretty complicated process, and I think I didn't screw one of the screws back on properly. So yeah, I've been having issues with the radiator for the last 2 years, and as a result, and yeah, I just had to get it replaced last night. So, but yeah, that's the fun of it, right?
Do you think this is this indicative of the types of AI products that you're building? It's like, oh, it's okay. There's some bits missing. It's just all going to fall apart.
Interestingly, right? I feel like that skill is kind of helpful in startups because you just don't care as much and you just break things and
come on,
well,
the whole move fast and break things mentality. I thought we'd been through that phase already, and
yeah,
now
it's kind of like not that anymore, right?
Build fast with sustainable infrastructure.
Yeah,
is the new one. Is that?
But I feel like we've kind of gotten back into the move fast and break things, especially after AI, because like you had the do the risky things, and then SaaS becomes like more mature, and then you do less risky things, and then now it's kind of like AI's new, so let's everyone start doing risky things and just break everything, and then like I think we'll go through cycles of like, okay, yeah, do the crazy stuff and then come back and stuff. Yeah,
I think it's kind of history repeating itself with a lot of like space race and all this kind of stuff. Is like how right? So like how fast can you actually move to get ahead?
Yeah,
is that where we are right now?
I think so.
With AI? Are you worried about it?
No, not really. Quite excited about it. Yeah. Because
there's the argument for Pandora's box, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people move so fast because they want to get ahead of any kind of competition or anything like that, and they don't take into consideration the risks or...
Okay, I think there are certain parts that I am a bit more concerned about, like especially around like geopolitics, around like global countries influencing each other, mass influence of populations. I think that kind of stuff is like... and then also like scams at like really, really huge scale.
Or like deep fake voices.
Deep fake voices, yeah, all this kind of stuff. I think there's a lot of bad that you can do, and I think that's the part that kind of like gets me slightly worried at times. But yeah.
I mean, I think there's this argument about superpower, like something isn't a superpower unless it can be used for both good and
that's
evil,
true.
right?
That's true.
And I think that's the concern. The concern is things are moving so quickly. Are people putting the right guardrails in place to prevent or at least hinder the possibility of things being used for bad stuff?
Yeah.
Hey, this got serious really fast.
It did.
Oh, damn. We're not going to be depressed the whole time, are we? Are you optimistic about the future?
I think... Yeah, I think so. I mean, personally, I kind of have to be. But like, in general, I think I'm generally quite excited. I think a lot of things, and I'll quote like, the CEO of Anthropic, Dario, I think, on this, like he actually did share that like a lot of humanity has been in the balance of like, okay, yeah, there are bad actors and there are powerful tools. And as long as the number of bad actors is relatively small relative to the number of good actors in the human population, we're all right. So that's kind of like been the dangerous line that we've been treaded on. And, even after nuclear power came out, the world didn't like die that soon, largely I think because we've just got a few more good actors and bad actors with purely bad intentions in the world. Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to touch on that a little bit because I mean the perception of good and perception of bad, it depends on who you speak to, is number one. And number two, how quickly people can flip-flop between one mentality and the other based on how quickly information can travel nowadays, good and bad, fake or real. It's like you can be fed whatever on any kind of social media platform to skew your thought process a certain way. Like you mentioned about like the geopolitical, right?
Mass influence,
mass influence, and we saw it with like the whole Cambridge Analytica thing, like however many years ago that was.
And that's with like pretty much caveman technology.
Like just rudimentary basic stuff, just a different application, a different way of thinking of things. But now information can move so quickly. It's like oh my god, what's real? It's like I don't know. You see people, the older generation. I am the older generation, but man, I was around during 56k dial-up. Like, was this you, or were you on 56k dial-up internet?
Oh, for a while, yeah.
Really? Get off the phone! Did you ever have this?
Yeah.
Downloading stuff from like many whatever platform it was, like a 3 megabit song, and it turns out it's, I don't know, just a bunch of rubbish, and it would take you a day and a half to download unless it didn't cut out.
I was fortunate to kind of have gone through that for a while. I think Sarawak's technology takes a bit of time before West Malaysia stuff propagates there, so
Okay.
we got a bit more of that for a bit longer.
Okay, so
Yeah.
just on that note, before we go back into the serious stuff, would you rather have no internet or really, really, really slow internet? Which one would you rather have? Just trying to gauge your patience and frustration.
I miss the days of really, really slow internet, you know?
What are you
Like,
talking about?
It was good. Like, from as much as I can remember. It was pretty good. Because, like, imagine, right? You browse something on Google.
Yeah.
You have to be really intentional about what you search. And then you go have a coffee, come back, and then your Google search is there, you know?
Was
And-
it Google or was it Lycos?
Okay, I'm not that old.
Oh, motherfucker! Dude, I was like pre kind of Google.
Oh my gosh.
I remember there was a guy, Eddie. So in high school,
Mhm.
he told the IT department. He's my age, and he told the IT department that our back end was vulnerable to potential attacks, and they didn't listen to him. So he hacked the school network, and he started changing people's grades to prove a point.
Wait, your friend?
Yeah.
Damn, that's cool.
Yeah.
What's he doing now?
I don't know.
Oh, damn.
I'm just he's gonna go by the name Eddie, and that's it. I
Cool.
won't give his full name, but yeah,
That's so cool.
I should really reach out to him.
Yeah. But you know, this is something where like, yeah, I think when I was in university and I was first hearing about the Cambridge Analytica situation, like what actually, like what was going on there, it was a very foreign concept. At this point, I just finished an internship at a digital marketing agency, and I started to understand how ads work and how you can just literally send a message to any specific person.
Is this just when you'd finish uni?
No. So in first year uni,
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to kind of explore marketing, so I actually did an
I was-
internship at a digital
Right.
marketing agency.
I was gonna ask when you made that kind of switch from the engineering.
Oh, that's another story of its own.
Okay.
That was final year, very much so. But like, yeah.
Yeah.
In first year I was curious, and then I think when I started realizing how like, yeah, you could literally just influence anybody, and we were a small company in Malaysia, and we were like selling all sorts of random dropshipping stuff all over the US, and I was making these videos, right? You know, those 20-second dropshipping videos, like handbag organizer, like literally one of my best projects actually. Yeah, and then, you know, toolkit for like 10 ringgit or something, you know, but then we'd mark up to like $50 for the US market and stuff. And you know, it's just this whole dropshipping space where people are just making money on the internet, and it was just such an interesting business. But yeah, like mass persuasion and stuff is just something that does get me thinking, because like you can like literally get anything to happen in the world if you can convince the right people and show them the right, like, kind of narrate their worldview. And make any major changes that you want in the world. So like whoever controls the media kind of controls the world. So yeah, deep.
In your opinion, who controls the world media now? Because it was I wouldn't say it's easy, but it was easier to decipher back then because there were certain channels. You would have TV, radio, newspaper.
Yeah.
Now, it's any kind of social channel. And the interesting thing about that, let's just use ChatGPT for argument's sake as a platform. The daily average users is I don't know how many million now, or hundreds of millions, and the influence that has had as a platform. Now that when you search for stuff, there's a certain amount of influence going on there, whether that's buying behavior, intent, the things you prompt. That in itself is some sort of influence based on the information you get back from where the retrieval is coming from. So you have a certain element of influence there. One of the things that I've seen more recently, we spoke about this. So when you search for something, where would I buy this? There is a certain shopping aggregator here in Asia, a bit like Amazon, but in Asia, and these are all the links that come up for where it's being sold. So it looks like that site is optimizing for these LLM platforms to basically get ranked on these things. So you're being influenced in that respect. So social influence and all this kind of stuff is, I don't know how you, not necessarily control it, but it's just more of a concern. How?
But I'm not sure if, because ChatGPT is still ultimately quite intent based. Like you need to go in knowing what you want in a sense. before you get a response.
Yeah.
I think and yes, I suppose you'll be influenced by the responses that ChatGPT gives and stuff. So I've heard the articles, like the people talking about how like, yeah, we need to have sovereign AI and stuff that doesn't have like, political biases and stuff like that. But like, I think the real danger, like the much bigger danger, is actually the non-intentional stuff.
Right.
When you're not really searching for anything, but you're getting persuaded by random things that you're seeing. And that's the ads on all these different like social media platforms and stuff like that all over the internet, right? I think that's where you get a lot more power to just infiltrate and influence lots of minds, way more than I think ChatGPT has actually. And the thing is, anyone can play the game. And whoever has the budgets, and now with Bitcoin, you really don't know who has the budgets, but whoever has the budgets can just create a random company, create a Facebook ad account. You can set this up in days and influence huge amounts of people without being detected by the Facebook ad algorithms, because they'll always be one step behind what humans can do, right? And with AI, you can just create thousands of variations on thousands of different ad accounts, and like just whoever has the budgets, I think, can do a lot.
Are we all fucked? Is that what it is? Are we like? Is there no hope? I like you're saying all these things. So you have this knowledge, but then you're still an optimist.
Yeah, because again, I think
good actors outweigh the bad.
Kind of, and we're always in the precarious balance. But I don't know. I think like if it comes down to it, I don't know. Maybe we'll all just shut down the internet and like go back to our like pre-internet days at some point, but yeah.
What would one of the things I really like to do at the moment is just, I need to go out, but I need to leave my phone at home.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm constantly on it.
Yeah.
And I'll be doing some work, and then I'll blink and I'll find myself I'm just on my phone, and I've been on it for like 5 minutes. I'm terrible with this.
Yeah.
It's really bad. So that disconnect, it just feels so liberating. just going out and then just not having my phone on me is so much more present with people.
And that's actually an interesting thing where like I've noticed in myself that I'm spending so much less time in conscious thought recently, where like, like when you put away your phone for a while, then you start to think, and you start to actually develop your own thoughts about things, and if you are always on your phone, you tend to like, and if you're always scrolling, which is like the majority of my generation is like literally like really glued to it and really struggling with addiction and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Myself included at times, and like you're just really like you're just fed lots of information and you're not really actually processing anything. So your worldview is just built up on
consumption rather than creation.
Yeah, and you're not really thinking about like deciding what is true and what is like So you just really believe whatever you see. So I think that's like it's a state of consciousness, which I think putting away your phone is actually so scary. I think for a lot of people nowadays, like even 5 minutes away from your phone, like the thought of me going out without my phone is like such a scary thought. Like yeah, like it's just like, oh my gosh, what if something happens? Or like, no, nothing's gonna happen.
But it's yeah. With that idea of being constantly bombarded with basically consumption of whatever it is, how do you think this factors into the products and whatever that you want to create for the world?
I think that's one of the things that one of my goals as well with like, I think content in general is like, we can't fight algorithms and content and like all this stuff that's kind of, people are still going to be spending lots of time on social media no matter what. We can't reverse that. It's also like Pandora's box in a sense. Yeah. Like once it's open, it's open. And I think the only thing that we can do is try to get more of, we talked about that good actor, bad actor balance.
Yeah.
One of the things that we can do is try to get more good actors to kind of come out and talk on social media, spread their messages, which at the moment, right, what's happening, and the way I see this, right, is if you look at TikTok, if you look at Instagram, a lot of the creators who have a lot of time may not necessarily be doing lots of real work in the real world and like actually doing the thinking. I'm not talking about like people like Ali Abdaal, people like Matt Divella. Like there are lots of good influencers out there, but I'm talking about I think the vast majority of people who are just posting random stuff and trying to become like social media influencers without actually sharing anything helpful or meaningful, right? When you have too much of that, that's all people consume, and you just kind of, and there are potentially lots of bad actors. We've seen this with like the Andrew Tates and the vast sub niche of toxic masculinity and stuff. So yeah, you end up with that kind of stuff performing. Hate, violence, anger, a fear. That stuff generally performs, right? So we need to have like lots more good actors in the balance to kind of counter that. And like if the average person's feed is filled with like maybe 50% or like 30% of good actors, that's a net positive, right? But so many good actors just don't have the time to be creating all this stuff because they're so busy doing real work in the real world. And if we could tip that balance slightly, and this is kind of like where like my general philosophy of building products is, if we can tip that balance and make more good actors come out and share knowledge and like influence the younger generation, then we can tip that in the right direction, right? And that's what I think. Honestly, people like Alex Hormozi, Gary Vee, they've done phenomenal work, like getting into these algorithms. Because honestly, like I feel like I would have continued to be sucked into the potentially even the toxic masculinity algorithms had it not been for alternate like good people who have been sharing their perspectives and influencing my worldview, right?
So how do you break out of that from one to the other? Was there a moment where you're like, oh yeah, were you intentional with the content you consume rather than just doom scrolling?
No, I think it's really hard, and I think it was I can't remember a distinctive moment, but I feel like in university, this is kind of before TikTok. Okay, but yeah, in general, I think with YouTube, social media in general, I think when I first saw content from, I think it was Ali Abdaal or Gary Vee, and that got me realizing that, oh wow, there's so much more to the world, there's so much happening in the world, and like this is how business fundamentally works, this is how like content and all this kind of stuff works, and then that just got me curious. So like it was one spark, and I think good people creating those sparks can make a massive difference in people's lives. Yeah, and the person who's creating the content usually wouldn't see the effects until like much later. There are some people who, like, I've been posting on LinkedIn for like 4 years or so, and like there are people who saw me in the first year who have like reached out to me in events in Malaysia and be like, yo, I've been following you for the last 4 years, I haven't seen you like a single one of my posts for the last 4 years, but yeah, they've been there and they've been like positively influenced, and you never know. I'm
with you on that one.
Yeah.
So
really?
I mean, because I post quite a bit. I've seen it, especially on LinkedIn, because I think there's, I don't know, LinkedIn is a weird place. LinkedIn is a weird place. But yeah, you'll go out to any sort of networking event or catch up with people like, oh yeah, I see your stuff, it's really good, like positive and optimistic, and you've got some good ideas. The engagement is low and the impressions are low as well. So it becomes like this vicious cycle where it's like, oh yeah, you've got to feed the algorithm, you've got to get these engagements, you want to get these impressions or whatever it is. But still, it's like if your post gets an impression and it's like got a good message, I think I posted something just earlier, it's like, okay, well, 200 and something people have seen it in the last like 1 hour or whatever. It's not a huge amount, but then that's still 230 people. And if 10% have like read the whole thing and got something good from it, maybe they're going to go on and like that knock-on effect of positivity. Hey, that'd be good. And I have to remind myself of that. It's not chasing clicks and chasing engagement all the time.
We also have to remind ourselves that 200 and something people in an hour, like, what would a room with 200 and something people actually look like? And you just spoke to them in the last hour while you're chatting with me. I think that's the thing. Like, a lot of my worst performing posts were the ones that people actually reached out to me and were like, hey, that actually really impacted me, and thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy shit. It's like, there's a guy, I used very good friends with him here in Malaysia, and he's moved back to the UK, and I hadn't heard from him in a long time. He's actually working for a marketing agency.
Okay.
He's a wicked smart guy. He went through a really tough time. And it was kind of substance abuse and all this kind of stuff and damaged relationships and everything, and he was like in the wrong crowd when he was over here and all this kind of stuff, and he basically fucking just bombed out. Got back to the UK, sorted himself out, hadn't heard from him in a while. Yeah, and he pinged me a LinkedIn message. He's like, hey mate, haven't spoken to you in a while. All this positivity that you're spreading is having a massive impact. Really like it, please keep it up. And you look at the post and it's like, well, 4 people have actually engaged with it in like the last 1 week or whatever. And it's got like super low, and I'm just like, wow, fuck.
Yeah.
But then that's one person. And then I remember, so he's now got, I think it's 1 or 2 young kids. And then I also know his wife as well. So if you think about even just being able to use it sounds like a fucking pitch for Cleve. But then if you can use something like Cleve, and we can talk about that. It's interesting because we've got a lot of background on it. If you can use that and then start to spread these messages, even if it's one person, that person will interact with however many people throughout the day, especially being in the agency world, and all his clients, all his family. Like,
changes the way he operates. Yeah.
So if I do that and you do that, and then
Yeah.
someone else does that, it's like we're slowly combating the negative shit talking, all these like bad influences that are out there.
Exactly. And I think we're going to go through waves where the mass consumers as well, they're kind of tired of all the fear mongering and the hatred and stuff, and they're just going to start unfollowing a lot of these people. Although that performs initially, because that's the spiky point of view, that's the exciting thing. But I think people do get tired, and we'll go through cycles of this. And I feel like the optimists are going to kind of come out and like, and there will be a larger and larger segment of people who have matured in social media consumption, and have kind of gone past the hatred and anger, and are looking for positive voices out there. And but yeah, like I think on your point, it's like so true. You really don't know what kind of impact like the work that you're doing is creating. And I think too much of this, and even for me personally, right, I'm so like dependent on the views as a measure of like how successful my message is. But like that's weird. Like the views are not like it's the message is actually the fundamental thing, right?
Yeah.
The optimization is what drives the views, but it's if your core message, if you're consistently talking about something important to you, the right people will see it eventually. And I think you really just need a few right people to see it to make a huge impact, right? And like I like what you said about like creating those sparks as well, like having a few good people that starts creating things. These things actually do spread viral like with viral nature as well.
Yeah.
So you don't need that many people to like create interesting stuff to have a sizable impact on local communities. And I think when we're posting, like it seems like okay, it's just another thing that we do for our business, and it's like just a small thing on the side, but like it can kind of spark lots of change in a lot of people. Yeah.
You mentioned something then about if you're talking enough or talking consistently about something that's important to you, and obviously hopefully the right people will pick it up. What's important to you? What is important to Mr. Ash?
I think the most important thing has always been kind of education, and
Really?
like getting more people to see themselves as teachers, see themselves as people who have value to share, to realize their own value, and yeah, share their knowledge with the world. Because I think, you know, if I go back to like growing up in Sarawak, right, education is still ultimately the biggest thing that gets people out of like tough situations in their families. And it can have such a, like, even for my own family, like my granddad was brought in by the British military.
Really?
So he was like a telegraph operator with the military in Kuching, and that's the reason why my family moved to Sarawak, right? Like he never studied. He was like until 15 years old he joined the military in India, and then I think he just really prioritized education among his kids, and somehow all of them managed to get to university one way or another through scholarships or like whatever means, and like it totally changed the course of my family's life. And I think that same level of impact, I think the university model was the previous model that enabled that.
Yeah.
But I think right now the social media model is actually enabling that for many, many more people.
Yeah.
And it's the people like Gary Vee, Ali Abdaal, like these kinds of people who are, Alex Ramosi especially, I think, who are sharing very specific knowledge for free on the internet.
Yeah.
That's actually the next wave that's going to be, you know, getting so many more people out of poverty and out of like tough situations. But the thing is, Alex Ramosi, Gary Vee, all these kinds of people, right? Still English content, very far away. For some random kid in rural Sarawak, you just don't see that connection. You need the local influencers, the local leaders in Malaysia, in Singapore, in Sarawak to be creating content to impact this group of people.
Fuck, dude, this is a fucking pretty powerful story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so I'm guessing and maybe I'm taking words out of your mouth because I want to be the one to deliver the message. Your core goal for Cleve AI is to basically create those local influencers and give them the tools they need to spread that positive message.
Exactly. It's not about getting, I think, 20 million, 30 million followers anymore. I think it's largely about creating those little sparks in little communities, and and really reshaping like education in a different way, right? I think we've got lots of good people in Teach for Malaysia and like lots of these organizations which are sending teachers out, improving the education system, doing really, really good work there. But I think we need to tackle this problem from multiple angles. And I think pretty much every kid is on social media nonstop for hours and hours, way longer than they're in school, actually.
Right.
And if you can create influence via social media, that creates way, way, way more impact in the next 5 years. Yeah.
From an education point of view, I'd like to get your views on the education system. Because you're a straight A student.
Yeah. Okay.
Like big time. I was reading that. I was like, how do I get myself educated for this conversation? I was like, shit, I don't have time. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. So it's weird that we see grades as a benchmark of someone's success, but still, obviously, living that life of the, if you want to say, the old school education way. So it was like 4 A stars at A level kind of style, and then before that it was eight A stars and 1 A kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do you think there's always been a hunger for knowledge?
Oh yeah, actually, honestly, I feel like I never really. One thing that was good that I guess my parents taught me when I was very young is like learn to just really enjoy learning things, and the grades kind of come as a byproduct, similar to I guess how if you enjoy business,
You enjoy the process, not the outcome.
You enjoy the process,
kind of,
rather than the outcome. So like I think I was kind of like fortunate to grow up in a family where like learning knowledge and acquiring knowledge was kind of like something that's interesting and fun and celebrated.
Oh, nice.
So like and I think I kind of like never really felt like I had to study really hard. I felt like I just get to
You're
learn
such a piece
things.
of shit for that.
Sorry, yeah, I know how this sounds.
But I think
but yeah, I think it's about finding joy in the process and learning.
I think that, so that's an interesting take on it as well. I think again, speculation here in terms of how things happen in Asia in terms of what grades mean and how maybe students are forced to study and become doctors, engineers, and be the best. It sounds like you didn't have that growing up. It was more like, hey, enjoy the knowledge that you learn, enjoy the process. Is that right?
Yeah, I think my parents never really even I didn't go for tuition, so like they never really cared that much about my grades, to be honest. It was just kind of like just do you.
So what was that household like then?
I don't know. They never really we never really talk about academics and stuff at home much.
What do you talk about? Why is the car broken again? Why are you taking all the watches apart? Interesting. So interesting backstory. I had Kaim on here a few weeks ago, and he was talking to me about how he liked to tinker, and that's how we got really interested in watches because he started taking watches apart. You should meet him. I don't think you've met him. He's a wicked smart.
Sounds interesting. Yeah.
He's a wicked smart character. I think you get on well with him. I think basically it'd be like CERN where there's like a collision of intelligence. I couldn't be part of that conversation. I wouldn't fit in. But in terms of like the household you grew up in from an education point of view.
Actually, I think the biggest thing is in my formative years, like up to when I was like 4 or 5 years old, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I would ask my parents just the dumbest questions, and they'd really like answer me, and I think that kind of gave me this sense of that curiosity is okay. So like I would ask them like, why do mosquitoes bite humans? Like why don't they bite other things? And then like they would share, why do volcanoes erupt? And like I had all these kind of questions growing up as I was like learning about the world. And I think them being kind of like really patient with like answering me and even telling me when they don't know, and like they would Google it or Yahoo it or whatever was before that and actually try to look it up and stuff to help me get an answer. Or sometimes at one point I think my dad just said like, oh, you can Google it, and I was like, okay.
You did.
Yeah. But yeah, that curiosity. Yeah.
This idea of curiosity, if you think back to those formative years, then was there somebody that stands out as like that you were modeling from like curiosity point of view? Was it your parents or something like that?
Not maybe, I don't know. I think it was more of just like whenever I asked questions, I wouldn't be like shut down for asking the questions.
Okay.
And I mean my parents would be quite patient with just talking to me about these things and stuff. And I think that gave me a sense of like internal validation that it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to like be curious about the world. It's okay to ask questions that also just didn't make sense, I think. Yeah, haven't talked about this in a while, but interesting. Yeah, but yeah, I think I don't know if I were to give parenting advice, like, yeah, just like kind of celebrate like I think those little things make such a big difference because I never really asked them about I guess stuff growing up in school.
Mm.
Like I never really felt like I needed to because I think at that point I started having this sense of agency of being able to find answers myself, or asking teachers in school and stuff. And but it was most important in those just random questions as like every kid has.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Just like walking around, why is that blue? Like, what is happening?
Yeah. Like, why is the sky blue? Why does it suddenly turn orange? I distinctly remember some of these questions. Like, why does it turn orange in the evening? And it's like, and like, I remember, I think for that particular question, my dad was like, yeah, I don't know. And I was like, oh, wow, it's okay for adults to not know things too. And like, we're all kind of figuring out things and yeah.
That's pretty cool. Were you around during the times of Ask Jeeves?
What?
Do you know what Ask Jeeves is?
No.
Whoa, yes. So Ask, I was just you sparked a memory. Ask Jeeves was it was another search tool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there was Lycos, Ask Jeeves. I think Yahoo bought Lycos or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So all these other ones are around and they're full of like ads on the landing pages and all this kind of stuff.
Mm.
So the new way to monetize through search was Google, and obviously logging onto Google at that point in time when it's not filled with, it's literally a white page and a text box, right? And that was it. It's like, and I remember seeing that, and I was like, "What's that?" I think it was my friend Adam. My friend was like, "Yeah, you just search for stuff here, like whatever you want to find, like you just put it in here and then hit there." I was like, "What is this? Like the world at your fingertips kind of thing."
Oh.
Yeah, Ask Jeeves.
But the previous models were able to do that, right? Like Ask Jeeves and...
They were, but obviously you go on there and it's like, I don't know, it just reminds me of if you were in Tokyo and everything, all flashing lights and everything just super busy. It's just like, it was the complete opposite.
Right.
It's
That's so interesting though.
Just never seen it before.
Yeah.
There's so much white space. Like, where are all the ads? How are they going to make money?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's just a small company, like not going to do anything.
Right. It's interesting because like I think one of the things that I went quite deep in last year was like Western and Eastern UI design philosophy.
Right.
And it's actually so different. Like I think after Google, the whole minimalist tech kind of direction happened very strongly in pretty much all of Western software.
Right.
And the whole goal is to make it as simple as possible, minimal buttons, one simple action per page,
Mm.
right? But the Eastern design approaches actually took something totally different.
Yeah.
And if you look at like Chinese or Japanese apps today,
Mm.
they're filled with stuff. Like Shopee is modeling after the Chinese model, and you can see it's just everywhere.
It's
yeah.
so overwhelming.
It's so overwhelming, but it works.
Yes. You know Juin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Juin obviously was working for a company and they had to do a bit of a go-to-market for the previous company into Japan.
Okay.
Have you spoken to her about this? It was
No.
very interesting. It was like, yeah, so they had to do a complete redesign of the landing pages, website and everything because it was too vanilla, basically. It was didn't have enough text, it didn't have enough going on, basically,
Yeah.
for the market. So the bounce rate was really high.
That's so funny and so interesting. I think the right term for this is high context and low context cultures, I think.
Oh my god, it's
And-
over here. See the yellow book there, the culture map. Have you read it?
No.
Oh my god. So you see that yellow book right in the middle?
Oh, yeah, okay.
The culture map. It's Erin. Is it Erin someone? I can't remember. You should read that. And it talks about like,
Whoa.
yeah, high context and low context cultures. Because this is great. Sorry, I won't go off on one. But it talks about like contracting and negotiation and stuff like that and how it's actually done.
interesting.
So the
And it
different
affects in those situations as well, not just visual design and stuff.
everything. Because for example, over
Oh.
here in Asia, there's a lot of relationships.
Hmm.
Is everything's kind of intermingled. You know people know people who knows the family and all this kind of stuff. So when you go out and you're having a business meet or anything like that, it's basically 90% getting to know the person and you're getting to understand the person.
Right.
And what it talks about in the culture map is the reason for that is you need to understand who you're doing business with because they didn't have the legal structure around that if you got into an agreement with somebody, you wouldn't have the legal backing to kind of reinforce any contracts they came up with. So when business was done on a handshake, it was literally done on a handshake. Whereas over in the West, they had
Right.
the legal structure and the legal backup. So then basically, if you go into a contract, you can sign something off. Because it's like, well, I don't need to get to know you because I've got all this backup here from a legal perspective, and we can go to court and just figure it out. Whereas over here, it just wasn't the case.
Interesting.
I might have misquoted that completely, but that's what I remember from that. And he talks
Interesting.
about high context and low context and the relationships and all that kind of stuff. It's really that I highly recommend it.
One thing that I've kind of seen between, like in sales even, right?
Yeah.
And maybe you can comment on this, but like, there were some people who were showing me sales decks in Malaysia and like how sales decks are made, right? And compared to the ones that are in the US. In the US, I think it's like very, here's the value proposition, here's what we do, like here's how we can help you and stuff.
Yeah.
In Malaysia, it's like the first 12 slides is just, here's the credentials of our founders and here's
Right.
the legitimacy of the company and the people, right,
Yeah.
who are running this thing. And then it's like, okay, here's our value proposition, 2 slides kind of thing. So, do you see that? I don't know.
Yeah. I think I've maybe just been indoctrinated into how things get done over here as well. And that's why I like to do these things, because I want to get to know the people behind the products and the people behind the businesses, because obviously people drive business. So it's like, okay, well, if you can start to understand more about the people that are building these things and why Cleve might have been incepted in the first place and what the real non-pitch vision for the business is, that's the message. So from what I've understood about why you've actually brought forward this or developed this product for like bringing around local influencers to have a positive impact, to make sure that everyone's not being force-fed all this negative BS to go off on the bad actors and good actors. It's like, okay, well, this is something I would probably want to get behind. Oh, here's some money.
Right. That
So
makes sense.
Because I think a lot of this is really important, because people like yourself who are, and I say this humbly for yourself as well, are pretty gifted when it comes to both education, learning, curious, hungry, also driven to the point of execution. So obviously having a look at all your social media presence, like what you've actually done, it's like, okay, this is an idea, this is how we're going to do it, and then go and do it. Normally that last bit is where people kind of fall down. So you can start to see like, okay, well, why is this person doing this? How are they building this? And this is the future of what business is actually going to look like. So the more we can start to learn and understand about the leaders behind the businesses that are going to be running the future, the more we can start to see how the future is going to be shaped. And I think that's the big concern right now, is the businesses that are coming out and the businesses that are being run that are having the biggest influence might not necessarily have the right people at the helm.
Right.
And then this is with a big caveat, because of this idea of free market. You have Elon Musk having it out with Sam Altman. It's like, well, what's being fed into the media about these people to spread vicious rumors, lies, like fake news, we don't know. So we don't really know the true story behind the people that are building these things. It's like, okay. And then we have Mark Zuckerberg 2.0, who's the MMA fighting, streetwear kind of guy. It's like, so who is he, right?
Yeah.
I'd like to kind of learn more about Cleve, but you mentioned something interesting about parenting advice. Somebody's gonna have to fact check me on this. But the definition of parenting, I think it's either Latin or Greek, and the meaning of it is to bring forward. So it's not necessarily between a parent and their child.
Yeah.
It's a general term for helping people progress and move forward. So I'm gonna have to fact check that. I don't have my phone. If you had yours, you could fact check it as well.
ChatGPT.
Wait, Jamie, bring that up. It's like, nah.
That's interesting. Yeah, and I do think that, I mean, even with my own content and the kind of stuff that I put out, like, I think one of the big goals as well is to not really teach anyone anything specific. I think you don't really need to. I mean, I think today the only thing that really matters is actually people having this sense of curiosity and high agency to create and discover things and figure things out on their own. It's in line with their own interests, right? So you don't really need to teach specific things. A lot of it is really just creating those sparks of like acceptance, recognition, curiosity around things, and then people kind of go off and discover things themselves in their own interests.
I think that's really important, like that idea of, question everything and everybody. It's like, okay, just because they have a large social media following doesn't mean they're right and on point. So maybe you should have your own opinion, and you should, there's a great, I can't remember who told me this, trust but verify. So it's like, okay, I hear what you say, and based on who I know you are online and all that, I'll trust what you say, but I'm also going to verify and validate that this is actually true, and my perception of what you're saying is actually the right thing.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you want to help people realize their own value. Have you ever been in a situation where you haven't realized your own value and that's kind of held you back?
I would say 90% of the time. 99%.
What are you talking about? Is this a kind of question of this isn't even my final form? Is that what this is? You're not even ready, bro. Like, what is this?
I don't know. I think it's something that affects all of us. Like, I've even met people who are like, CEO of multi-tens of millions of dollars company, and like they're still very much kind of like, I don't feel like I have anything helpful to share. Like, I don't know. I feel like everything I was doing, I just kind of got lucky along the way, and yeah, here we are at like, 100 million. It's like, yeah, I don't know. Like, so that's kind of also where I think it's a largely, and the things that help me when I'm kind of feeling this way is like talking to people and like in real life and realizing that, oh shit, actually, yeah, people are kind of like, I can help people with this knowledge that I have or with the experiences that I have, because there's always going to be like this kind of feeling, and I feel this all the time as well, like I'm decent at marketing, but someone else is like way better, so like why should I share anything, because or I'm decent at I don't know, thinking about education, but like other people probably have way better opinions than I do, because like I'm just a 26-year-old like kid, or like what do I have to say, like yeah. So I think that always exists, and I think it's interesting because like a big part of like creating content and like building a social media presence and like writing in public, right, it's kind of scary, and a big part of it is kind of discovering what your value is as a, like what can you add to the table in a sense. And I think the like one of the things that kind of gives me a sense of grounding is also that like I'm not writing to the world, I'm really just writing to my community of other people who are in similar positions as me like a year ago, in Sarawak or in KL, or like early stage founders or people who have ambitions to start something but just don't have that voice or that kind of person out there who has done something similar, right? And yeah, I think be the voice for like your local communities. I think that's so important. Like I think even with sales, right? Like yeah, there's lots of sales advice on the internet, but like I don't know, like, or business advice in general, but like I want to hear from someone like you, like someone who's been on the ground in Malaysia, been doing things here or in this region, and that's so valuable to me, because even if it's exact same advice, it's different.
It's confirmation bias for a start. It's like if you've heard it all over again, it's like, oh yeah.
I guess so, but I guess there will always be like nuances that are different in your own experience here, right? And some of the stories that you were sharing earlier as well. Like I think, it's all nuances. I think, yeah.
You seem to talk about education a lot.
Yeah.
Why? Why is this one of these things that's so important to you? This is a full-on interrogation now. I'm ready. I'm in. Tell me everything.
I think I've always kind of been kind of excited about social impact and seeing like what we can do for society, eliminating poverty, all this kind of stuff, right? And like, I think of all the different paths to which you can create social impact and stuff like this. The one that I think the first time I saw this was Khan Academy, where I saw Sal Khan and how he was just making YouTube videos for his nieces and nephews, and it was just him solving maths problems. And
I haven't seen this.
Oh, really?
Really?
Do you know Sal Khan? Like, do you know? Have you heard of Khan Academy?
I've heard of Khan Academy, but I don't know the background of it.
Oh, okay. So crazy story.
Here we go. Educate me.
Yeah, so this guy, he just wanted to start making, like, specifically, he had nieces and nephews who were in a different state in the US, I think, and he just started making videos to teach them maths and, like, basic, very primary school maths concepts, right? And then those videos would start to get more distribution, like, people would start seeing them on YouTube and discovering them, and it became, over the course of, like, 2 or 3 years, he just kept producing videos after videos after videos, explaining different maths concepts and stuff like that. And then eventually it became a platform, Khan Academy, and on Khan Academy it would be a curated list of all the videos that he's ever produced and stuff like that. And today that platform has like math, science, all sorts of education, and it's all free.
Oh man.
And anyone can get it on and learn, and like millions of people go to Khan Academy every week, every day, to kind of discover new
Holy
information and like learn from Sal Khan. And it's all free, like 100%, like even no ads. I think they're a non-profit organization. They're funded by donors and stuff. And that just kind of like, that was the first time, I think I was like 14 or 15 at the time when I discovered his story. I think that's the first time I was like, holy shit, there is like, I, at the time, right, I was thinking, okay, after I graduate, maybe I'll become a teacher. I'll teach at some primary school in Sarawak or something, right? And like try to inspire kids. But like, yeah, if like what Sal Khan was doing is he's teaching to like 100,000 people per class.
Right.
And
Right.
and yes, I could create impact among like 10 people in a class, or like 40 people in a class. Yeah, overcrowded classrooms in Malaysia, but 100,000 people, no way, I can't do that in my lifetime. and people like Sal Khan and many others that followed after that were creating this kind of impact at scale, and inspiring entire generations with the kind of work that they're doing and the kind of content they're putting out. And I think that's where I saw this scalability. Like that was my first taste of like, wow, scalable impact is possible with the internet.
Right.
And yeah, there's some interesting work that I could be doing in the internet. So like, yeah, maybe I should kind of discover this deeper. Yeah, but I never knew how to get in. And it was only until university where I had a flatmate who was a YouTuber creating content on YouTube. And
was it Nick?
Edward?
Edward
Ong, yeah.
Dude, so I saw his YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So he last posted a year ago.
Yeah.
He's got 234,000 people following him.
Yeah.
And the last thing he posted was the mini guitar solo, which was 2 minutes and 36. The shooting of that, like, is spectacular. Even though it's so short, and the music is incredible.
I think I might have shot that particular video, actually.
Really?
Because like
it was in Austria.
Okay, no, I didn't do that one. But yes, exactly.
Yeah?
No, that wasn't me, but a good friend of mine, yeah.
Yeah, because I was reading about you, like, kicking off his YouTube channel. I was like, holy crap, that's really cool.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of like, that was my first taste of like, oh, you don't have to be in the US to do this. Oh, wait, anyone can do this. Like, anyone anywhere could do this. Like, you could start a YouTube channel for free as well. I was like, wait, you don't have to pay for it? I was like, yeah, I honestly thought you had to pay for it and stuff like that. And yeah, like, and it was my first kind of like taste of like, oh wow, it's possible to build things on the internet.
Was this in Miri whilst you were there?
This was in Sheffield. I was studying in Sheffield, and Edward was my flatmate. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Damn. Do you think for like going to Miri or somewhere like that, how do you think like YouTube, social, do you think it's getting picked up in these, I don't want to say smaller towns, I mean it's a pretty vibrant city, to be fair. There's a lot of oil and gas and everything down there. Do you see content creators down there? Have you been back recently? Have you seen how things are on the ground over there?
I go back quite often. I think there are social media consumption is just, of course, like really, really high everywhere.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I've gone to my village in India as well many times, and I would see these like 5-year-old kids watching Mr. Beast, and like that's literally, like, yeah, it's everywhere, and I think people don't realize the extent at which it really is everywhere in every tiny village in every small town.
Yeah.
But in terms of creators, I think there's many people who post on social media. I think, and there's lots of good people as well who are posting and creating content. But there definitely wouldn't be as much relative to other places. And of course, even in KL, it's not like that huge yet. I think we're still in the early stages of things in Southeast Asia. And like more and more like influential, thought leaders and stuff coming on social media is still in nascent stages. And honestly, I feel like the opportunity is still so big. If you look at the actual market size of the world, not looking at the number of impressions you'd get per post, but if you look at the actual market size of the world,
I feel like that was a dig at me. You're the reason I don't post.
Most people feel the same way, and I think it's just a matter of time before, like, I don't know. I think the algorithms will get better at showing things to people. I think there will be potentially more regulation, potentially more people getting interested in business and interested in sales, and like, and then they'll eventually need to discover the sales leader or the business leader who's kind of sharing things about their experiences. So,
do you think there should be so next thing I want to ask you about is kind of your ambitions for education before getting on to Cleve. But in terms of like from an education perspective, either at primary school or secondary school, whatever it is, do you think they should be teaching classes on social media, how to use it?
Teaching social media classes specifically. Okay.
Yeah, so basically it's like, look, these social media platforms that are coming out, this is the psychological effects it'll have. This is how you can curate the content that you want to see. This is how you can report. Like I'm not in the education space so much to find out if these things are actually happening. The reason I ask is
interesting.
So I've seen it on the other side, which is the older generation, obviously being fed a lot of things. It's like obviously right now you have like these memes or reels that come out. It's like, oh, my grandmother didn't know this Brad Pitt thing was fake and he was in the hospital or anything like that, because obviously they did not grow up on social media. So everything that's being fed is not what I get shown is not the same as what Joan down the road gets shown. It's like completely different. It's based on everything you interact with, and because of that, whatever you're being fed, it can have a negative impact. I've seen it firsthand in terms of what it can actually do to like families and relationships and stuff like that. So because they don't know how to use it, how to engage with it, and how to consume it, and what it actually means. So if you go to your point, it's like, well, there's a 5-year-old in a small village in India that's consuming Mr. Beast. Okay, let's extrapolate that out over the next 10 to 10 years of all the consumption that's going to happen. Like if I look at my screen time, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
Like how much time I'm on my phone, whether that's for emails, phone call, whatever it is. But it's like, okay, I'm older now. I'm privileged enough to speak to people like you to be like, hey, did you know this? Or do you really? It's like, how do we then start to teach and educate people on, okay, these are the impacts that this is going to have?
Wow, I have no idea. That's interesting. Like social media specific classes, maybe. Yeah, maybe that's what we'll come back.
I kind of love putting you on the spot on this. I don't know what your thoughts are on this.
No, it's interesting. It's an idea that I haven't really thought of that deeply. I think in general, the amount of interaction that I have with the current generation today is pretty limited, actually. I don't get to see that many kids on a day-to-day basis. So I don't really know the problem well enough, actually, now that you mention it. It was only like last week. Last week I had this I signed up for this event where we were kind of like sharing about our careers with school kids, right? Like Form 4, Form 5 school kids.
Yeah, nice.
And they'd be brought in from all the kampong schools to KL, and then we do sharing sessions, and it was so interesting kind of talking to them, and like everyone has a phone. I was like, wow, people have phones. Like, yeah, and everyone's on social media. Everyone's like knows all these creators, and it's just, yeah, it's a very different world that I don't even know enough of.
How old were you when you got your first phone?
So I was an exception case, but like 17, 18. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then that, phones couldn't do much at the time, so I could call my mom and dad, and that's about it.
It used to cost me 10p per SMS. And to send an SMS, you had to key in the number. There was no phone book, so you had to remember all the mobile phone numbers that you wanted to message.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. But I was on Facebook since I was like maybe Form 2. Yeah. Secondary 2, yeah.
How old is that?
That's like 14 years old, yeah.
Were you pre or post MySpace?
Post. No, well, I knew some people were on MySpace, but
Yeah.
like I never got onto it for some reason. I was on Friendster.
You were on Friendster? You fucking nerd. I wasn't on Friendster. So this is the thing, it was like I think there was pockets of people that would be on the internet for hours, and we were still out riding bikes and playing football in the park.
Yeah.
Also drinking down the park and smoking and all this kind of stuff. We were just out, just outside. So, and then every now and again we weren't really on phones either. It was really weird. You knock on your mate's door and be like, all right, Paul, you coming out to play football? And he'd be like, yeah, all right, sure. Let me just ask my mum. It's a weird thing. I don't know if it's better or worse. I don't know. I think as you get older, it's just kind of like, oh, back in my day, everything was like so much better. Like, was it really? Like right now, I can connect with anyone I want to, anytime I want to. I'm this many thousands of kilometers away from friends and family, but I can FaceTime. I can, like, when I first moved here, it was Skype mainly. Yeah, and now it's just like FaceTime.
Yeah.
And my brother will pick up and like, I'll call you back, I'm in a meeting, and he'll be in a board meeting, he's answered his phone, I'll be like, alright mate, see ya. It's like, okay. That's the thing about I do love it. That's the thing so I think about situations like that with sales. It doesn't matter like how high up you are, your sea level or anything like that. Everyone's got a best mate. Everyone's got like either a sibling, a mum, a dad, like whatever it is. And everyone gets humbled by these people. Hey, shut up, man. Like, it doesn't matter. It's like, we're all just people, right? We're all just humans. But that's a separate topic when you think about sales and outreach and all that kind of stuff. From an education point of view, like looking forward, and this was the last thing before talking about Cleve, have you kind of formulated how you want to be involved in education in the future?
Right now, I don't know. I think, I really don't know. I want to do something important, something that has like a significant impact on this space. I don't exactly know what that is going to be over the next couple of years. We'll see. Hopefully I get to kind of continue doing my own thing and like kind of building stuff in this space. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I think for me personally, I do want to see the change happen. I do want to see like kind of more opportunities go to people who need those opportunities.
Yeah.
I do want to see more diverse perspectives kind of come out. I don't exactly know how it'll happen. Yeah, but I think that's kind of part of the journey to figure that out. Yeah.
This education piece has been a topic of conversation with a few different people as well, because of how quickly things are moving. This is a great segue. I'm really good at this. So it's a great segue into Cleve and AI and DeepSeek, ChatGPT, all these LLMs. The speed in which things are moving and progressing is exponentially faster than it was, like, I don't know. If you imagine a year ago compared to where we are right now, it's just like, okay, that's how fast things move. It's just like, it's rocket ship kind of speed. So how is education keeping up, and whose responsibility is it? This is just something to ponder. It's something I think about. It's like, okay, how are we equipping the next generation? Because eventually when I have kids, it'll be like, okay, how are they going to interact with the world? Like social skills, context skills, problem solving skills, like I don't know. How are they going to interact with technology? I don't know. It's madness. You see Zuck's wearing his glasses everywhere nowadays, right? Don't know if they're Ray-Bans 2.0, whatever it is. It's like, okay, well, he's got a heads-up display. He's got a HUD in his glasses. What's being displayed, man? Like, these are, for him, maybe like alpha first gen. Like, he's got access to all the data. So you'll be having a conversation with him. He knows everything about you. This guy's T-1000, like Terminator 2, Judgment Day kind of thing. It's like, okay. So this whole kind of education piece and what people should be taught and how they can learn to get information quickly and contextualize that information and make the best decision, I just don't know. Like the future of jobs. You're talking about like you did an internship in year 1 for a digital marketing agency, which is like drop shipping.
Yeah.
Mate, you say drop shipping 10 years ago.
Yeah, that didn't exist. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's courses and all this kind of stuff. It's like, oh, it's going to put us out of jobs. AI is going to take all our jobs. It's like, yeah. The agricultural revolution, the industrial revolution, then you have like the IT infrastructure revolution, the internet revolution, web 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, like jobs come and go, man. So whose responsibility is it? Just a natural thing where we just catch up and then start creating jobs and we educate ourselves around that? I don't know.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing with AI is the biggest thing is it's so possible to self-educate.
Yeah.
But your biggest constraint is your curiosity now, and you can learn literally anything, but you have to be asking the questions. And Yeah.
I think you have to have that. You're right, that desire and curiosity, and a part of me feels like it's being stripped away in some part by social media, because you can just get sucked into doom scrolling for half an hour. No, you can do that every single day, and all of a sudden it's like hour in the morning, maybe an hour in the afternoon, hour in the evening. If you have a look at your screen time, how much of that was used for, they call it micro learning or whatever it is. It's like, no, it's too many distractions. How can we? Where's the drive, rather than being kind of dampened for our learning? I don't know.
Yeah, actually, it's like, it's strange.
Yeah, I like that. It's weird. Like, it is, because I'm lucky that there's smart people like you around that can probably help solve some of these problems eventually. So that's where my reliance is. I don't know if we can rely on governments to help solve these problems or highlight these issues and put forward plans and policies. I think with everything we're seeing right now in certain political spheres, it's very scary to see how administrations are being run.
I think like where this will kind of go, a lot of people, there's two schools of thoughts about on the whole AI proliferating throughout society, and like this is just another revolution similar, and jobs come and go. You'll have new jobs that are created and stuff. I think there's two schools of thought on this. I think one is like we're just gonna have a whole bunch of new jobs. The other school of thought is like, okay, but this is different from, in many ways, this is different from a lot of the previous revolutions where it was just an efficiency increase throughout society. This is kind of like a efficiency jump, like a ridiculous efficiency jump in all verticals, in all propagating throughout society, in all knowledge workers for the first time. Because we've always had machinery that does the less knowledgeable work for the longest time, and now we have knowledge machines, which is kind of weird. So it's not entirely certain that the models of disruption that have happened over the last millennia are still true with this current one. I think but then, you can choose to kind of like be like, oh no, it's doomsday and stuff, but like, or you can kind of build stuff that you think will be helpful, given this is the current situation, and then like try to create more opportunities that way. But yeah, like I think it's like people with high agency, high curiosity are going to be like, okay. I don't think there's going to be an issue with that. But it's the vast majority who don't have that skill set or don't have that upbringing. And that's kind of like the big concern, I think, right now. And upskilling is one thing, inspiring is another, inspiring people to think in a different way. And we can't win AI by upskilling purely, because it's endless. Like the number of times you'll have to upskill the population in the next 5 years, it changes every 2 months. So like I don't think the current model of education is going to be enough to kind of like keep up with the pace. And that's also kind of where the most important thing is really the inspiration segment of like getting people to get out of their social media feeds and like start thinking about the world and like start thinking in general. Which is really hard to do and really hard to achieve, and I have no idea how we're going to achieve that. One hypothesis is like a big movement towards in-person communities, which takes that away. Also, another problem with trying to move towards in-person communities, although that's how things have been in the past, is like today, if you ask a Gen Z to be like, "Hey, let's meet up in person," and it's like, really, in person?
What are you talking about? I haven't showered in 4 days.
But more so than the showering and stuff, like it's also just like I don't even know how to engage.
So I don't know if we spoke about this, but this is two things. Number one, I'm a big believer in what you just said. I don't want to kind of jump on that bandwagon. I think you can upskill as much as you want and give people all the tools and be like, oh yeah, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, the rational, logical side of things. They're not inspired. They're not moved like to do something with it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how skilled you are if you can't get out of bed and actually do something with the skills that you're actually given. I'm with you on that one. So how do we inspire that? Second thing, remote work. Remote work, I love doing this. I'd rather do this than have you sit in your home somewhere else and do it on social media.
Yeah.
Because it's a different vibe, right? And I think it's just, enables for kind of free-flowing conversation. I get to know you a lot better. We can talk about tea. You turn up, like things aren't going so well. It's like, oh my god, I've got to do this, and you have an experience with somebody rather than a transactional. I'm on Zoom. I need to get something done. There's a back and forth. Okay, it's done. Like, which is normal for like remote work now. Like, I'm going to jump on a call because I need you to do something, or need you to listen to me, or vice versa. Whereas we can catch up in person. Like, if you're in an office, they call it like a water cooler chat, or just going for lunch, or just have like a random thought. You're like, hey, maybe you thought about this, and you just end up having a conversation from nothing, because you're used to that kind of social engagement in work. Now there is the argument there. It's like, well, yeah, after work I go out and I socialize with my friends and blah blah blah. Okay, cool. But then the idea of like socially problem solving, working together, collaborating, I don't know. I think there's a big piece that seems to be missing, and I'm actually worried about the knock-on effect that that's going to have in the future, to what you mentioned, that social engagement, because it's fun to be around other human beings.
Yeah, I mean, even the thing that you said about how after work I'm gonna hang out with my friends, like that, I don't think that's really much of a thing nowadays.
Is it not? Isn't
Yeah,
it?
like
Mate.
after work, everyone's just on social media. Like everyone's posting their own Insta stories from wherever they are, and like they're just engaging with their friends on social media as well. So like, I don't know. The last time I've been asked out, or even maybe it's me. I don't know.
I was going to say, is this indicative of your friend circle? It's like, nobody likes me.
Yeah.
Are you okay? Are you okay? Do you want to
honestly.
talk about it?
But yeah, like I think even me asking my friends to like, hey, would you want to like just hang out like without agenda? Like that's like so scary. The thought of like why would they meet me? You know, everyone has to commute. Like, oh no, that doesn't make sense. We should probably just do a Zoom or something, or like hop on Discord. Like seriously.
Yeah. I was talking to my missus the other day. I was like, I was talking to so my mate, one of the first guys I met in Malaysia. He spotted me in a gym, or vice versa. He's from Sabah. He's from KK. His name Adris. Sup, Adris. We just ended up chatting over there and all this kind of stuff, and he ended up moving. He moved to Singapore. No, he moved to the US first. He got a job over there. Then he got his dream job at Nike, so he was working at Nike, and then he moved back to Singapore working for Nike, and then he always had a dream to move to China, and Nike didn't have a position for him, so he joined Adidas and he moved to Beijing. Beijing or Shanghai, sorry mate, I can't remember. And then he ended up moving back to Singapore. Now, all the while, like, I'd be staying in touch with him and all that kind of stuff. But then he ended up having to move back to Malaysia. And he's moved back to Malaysia. And he lives there.
Okay.
I see him once a week.
Right.
I don't message him to hang out, play
gosh.
games, chill out. Like, because the idea of, like, oh, I'm just going to go and hang out. I'm not productive. I'm not like, progressing. I'm not moving forward. I'm not, like... where's the angle? What's the business? Like, it's a weird thing to think, I'll just go and hang out at my mate's place. And it kind of makes me a bit sad, to be fair. And then I was reflecting yesterday. You look back on these times and realize how much potential there was and how much fun it was to have your friend living just there. He's been like overseas for like the longest time, and he's literally just fucking there. And I'm not like maximizing that potential just to sit down and just fucking relax and have a good time.
Yeah.
I think that's more of a reflection on me. Maybe I'm just too fucking uptight.
No, but I think it's like, I don't know, I think we always kind of, like, everyone kind of assumes everyone doesn't want to actually meet up just for the sake of meeting up. And like, yeah, I don't know. I kind of do feel that a lot, where I'm not really sure, like, oh, wait, would you like to have coffee? Like, the thought of asking someone, would you like to have coffee is like, oh, shit. Do I have anything? No. Okay, wait. What if I did a weekend? Maybe he's okay or she's okay, like, for the weekend. Like, no, but then weekend is usually family time. Okay, no, I can't do... yeah.
Oh, man. It's like you play this role in your head and you're going back and forth in a conversation that hasn't happened. It's like, oh, you know what, I just won't bother. Back on social media.
Yeah, exactly. And like, even breaking out of the social media scroll to talk to someone and ask them to meet up in person is like so scary. I think in this generation, I don't know, at least growing up with social media. But yeah, it's strange.
I've got a 15-minute timer on my Instagram, so
Right.
it forces me to either put it down or click cancel or anything like that. Now I always use the excuse that I've got some really old friends. My friend Adam, I've known him since I was 8 years old, so I've known him for 32 years. And my brother, obviously being in the UK, communicate through reels, and we communicate through memes.
Oh yeah.
So I'll wake up in the morning, best part of the day, it's just like all these things that my brother has sent me.
Yeah.
He's so unhinged. Some of the shit I get sent, and then he's like, yeah. It's like, yeah, similar mindset.
And I think that's the general interaction I have with a lot of my friends as well. But that's the thing. It's like, okay, I mean, we can just send reels to each other. Why should we meet up and stuff? So like,
I know.
yeah.
But it's so much better.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I'm kind of envious of like past generations. Damn. but like in many ways, right? You actually manage to build up this worldview that people are okay to meet up. People are okay to just hang out with no agenda and just chat and like make friends, and like how to make friends like without social media, which is like, oh, that's weird. How do you do that? You just approach people? Like, how does that work? Like all these kinds of things are just so strange, and just like even in university now, like I wouldn't just randomly approach someone. Like when I was in university, I would just I would be on social media and then I would find the person's profile and then like talk to them on social media first and then decide to meet up at some event.
It's like a warm lead.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man. Yeah.
That's just like you just go up to a stranger and be like, hi, I'm Greg. Is that how it works? I don't know.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, okay, so so last night I was I run. So I was running. You run.
Oh, yeah.
And you also hike and all this stuff, and I'd learn more about you. Yeah. First of all, do you road run, trail run? What's your run situation?
Road run for the most part. Yeah.
Do you have a weekly mileage, or are you just casual runner?
Not recently. It's been a while. I used to be competitive in school and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
What, like half marathon, 10K, 5K?
Mostly it was cross country in school. So cross country 8K, and then after that was 10K 21. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
I think during university I did a couple runs here and there, but like it wasn't like I started playing frisbee more and doing other stuff. So, but yeah, I think it's been a while. I'm trying to get back into it. I've got a half marathon coming up in 2 weeks. I haven't started training for, but
really?
Yeah.
Which one is that? Stanchart?
No. Putrajaya night run or something. I don't know. I just signed up for a random one because I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. I'll figure it out later. And I'm 2 weeks to the run, and I'll figure it out later. Yeah.
But you're going to be on the run and be like, don't worry, I'll figure it out later. You're like, okay, like, here we go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was running last night so there's a run club called Weekend Athletics.
Yeah, I know them. Right.
You should join. It's on a Tuesday and a Thursday.
Okay, yeah. I think it's been Thursday, yeah.
So Thursday is track.
Okay.
So, oh man, it's in Shah Alam.
Okay, yeah.
How close is...
Pretty near, yeah. I'm in Puchong, so...
When I look at a map, I've got no idea.
Okay.
Like, But yeah, so they do track. So I think they were... I can't remember what they did last week. I think it was like 8 by 1 kilometer and shit like that. So
cool.
it's pretty good. And then the one on Tuesdays was just over here in Sri Hartamas.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but even then, just kind of, I rocked up there on my own. And then obviously there's some people down there that I know already, and you always generally kind of gravitate towards like maybe somebody you've met before or something like that, and you just introduce yourself. Oh, hey, what's up? Because there's a common denominator. Everyone's there for weekend athletics, and because it's a community that's built on or predicated on just like having a good time, running, fitness. All these people look great when they're running. They have all the nice kit. I turn up, I look like garbage, man. Honestly, I look like garbage compared to these guys. But then because there's that common denominator, then you can just talk to them about running. Same. If you've got a race coming up, how are you training? You getting physio? Any injuries or niggles? How do you sort them out? What are you finding works best to improve your speed? So you have like a common thing, and then there's all these other sub things that you just end up having a conversation about because everyone's there for a similar reason.
Interesting.
So I grew up in the UK. I think my household was very much a social kind of household.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
what's that like?
It was
I don't even know what a social household is. That's
So for example, my mum and dad would always have like friends over, parties, like aunties, uncles, and stuff like that. So there's always that level of engagement, that social kind of interaction, and then we would, like, as kids, we would always kind of be involved and meet all the different adults and all that kind of stuff. So it was just
Right.
it was that kind of household. So obviously from there, like in the UK, you go to the pub as well a
Mhm.
lot. So you're always out at a bar, going drinking. You always like bump into people that you might know, and it's just like that kind of social engagement. Also with alcohol as well as a social lubrication, so it makes things a little bit easier. So
Right.
yeah, I think from there it just kind of spills over, and then you become a little bit more maybe extroverted. You get a lot of energy from kind of going out and meeting different people.
Hmm.
So it's I think there's the environment side of things, a bit like for yourself, your environment from an education point of view, and that's how you were kind of brought up as well. It's similar for me, but just on the on the other end of the spectrum, like
Wow,
from the
interesting.
yeah. So it's
Interesting.
a similar thing for networking events as well, right? Normally people are scared to kind of go up to somebody else because, like, what am I going to say? Like, how are they going to judge me? Blah blah blah, and it's all like this self-reflection, self-judgment, self, rather than everyone's there at a networking event. I wonder what the other person is there to learn, like what they're most excited about. Like, I wonder what they do, what's their job, what's their business. So if you go out with that perception of, well, I want to learn all about these other people that are here, it's different. You don't care about yourself because it's just all about the
Mhm.
other person. So right now, for me, it's all about understanding you.
So I understand the model, but like when I'm a lot of times when I'm like at these events, like for example, even if like for weekend athletics, right? If I were to just show up at the place and I really don't know anybody there,
Mm.
like do I just say hi to someone, the first person that I see, kind of thing? It was
Yeah,
like,
I think
huh.
so. You'll have a certain level of social anxiety. So it depends on like your mental state and your mood and all this kind of stuff. But normally I get these like a sweaty palm moment,
Mm.
which when I'm anxious or nervous, it's like, okay, I've got to do something. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna have to do the thing that I'm anxious about or nervous about. Because then as soon as you get over that barrier, then you can go on to talk to other people. So first person you see, it's like, oh, hey, sorry, my name's Ash. I'm kind of new here. What's the normal format?
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, don't worry about it. So I'm running with this person and this person and this person. There's, to your point, there's more
Mm.
good actors than there are bad actors,
Oh yeah, that's
and there's
true.
more good
Oh
people
yeah,
than
that's. Oh
there
my
are bad
gosh.
people.
Yeah.
And especially when it's like, oh well, if you come to this group of people, this community of people, this is how they operate.
Mm.
So if you imagine everybody at Weekend Athletics is similar to me, that's their mentality.
Hmm.
So you kind of go down there. It's like, oh, you know, who actually runs this? Oh, it's Nelson. He's just over there. It's like, oh, what's the normal format? And one of the things that, because I still get nervous and anxious, so I think you just do, right? It's large groups of people. It's like, holy shit, like, what are they going to say? It's just a process.
Hmm.
So, okay, well, how am I going to enter this conversation? Like, what would I like to say? What would I like to learn? Like, and then you have like the middle bit, like, oh, you know, how are we going to engage? Just like this thing that we're doing now, and then how are we going to exit?
Right.
So if you have that exit as well, it's like, oh, look, you know, I've just arrived here, so I'm going to see if there's anybody else like I know who's around here, so maybe I'll catch you in a bit. Oh, yeah, sure. And then you have your entrance, you have what you're going to say, then you have your exit.
Hmm.
So it's a weird thing. It's like, okay, in your mind or in my mind, I have a process.
Right. Okay. Oh.
And then after that, it's just like, well, if I know the process, then I can just relax.
Hmm. I think when you talk about the good actors and bad actors in this kind of situation, it's like the chances of there being a lot of people who are just gonna like the moment that someone approaches them, they're like, oh, I'm judging this person straight away. Like, what the hell is he doing here? He's not my friend. Why is he talking to me? Like, the chances of that happening is really low, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's that community, right?
Right.
And if you go to any kind of other networking event, which is specific for a startup, for example, like a startup mixer or whatever, it's like, oh, it's just for founders. You can go up to anybody there. My name's Ash. I'm a founder of Cleave. It's like, God, you know, what have you founded? What are you working on? There's an automatic kind of resonance between the two people based on role.
Mm.
Oh, I'm working on this. Oh, yeah. How are you finding it? How's the team? It's like, oh, just do a quick search. You have a look at a business card that might be handed over. Oh, I'll add you on LinkedIn. And then you're off to the races. But it's like, okay, well, how am I going to enter this conversation? What would I like to ask?
Interesting.
Always the case. So, for example, if you were going to prepare to turn up to like the track event on Thursday for weekend athletics, it's like, oh, hey, it's my first time here. What's the menu today?
Hmm.
And you ask that to anybody that's down there. It's like, oh, we're doing 8 by 1000. It's like, oh, okay, cool. What was it last week? Oh, we did it this week. So this week we're doing it like this. Oh, nice. Have you done this before?
Wow.
Oh, and then the good thing about you on this is there's an element of curiosity. So you're always going to be asking questions around what's been done before. Like, is it going to be hard? How do they normally run it? Is it in partners? Because all these interactions, if you kind of remove yourself from the equation and make it all about the other person or more about the situation that you're in, it's a lot easier.
Wow.
The real good sales book on this is, where is it? I gave it to my missus to read. I don't think she gave it me back. There's a book. It's called The Game. Have you heard of this?
Alex Hormozy?
Oh God, no. Alex Hormozy is business. This is a different type of business.
Okay.
So The Game is a book by a guy called Neil Strauss.
Oh.
Neil Strauss is a journalist, and he was tasked to investigate the world of pickup artists.
Wait, what's a pickup artist?
A pickup artist is a gentleman that go out and pick up women.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
For what? Like...
Mate, you're 26, you're not naive. Should we call it a social engagement? It's basically they're a hookup artist.
Okay.
And it's called an artist because when they go out and interact with people, there's certain things that they can do that make them more attractive to the opposite sex.
Oh, like for themselves. So it's not like a matchmaking thing.
No.
Oh, okay.
Purely self-indulgent.
Okay.
So,
interesting.
So it's called The Game, and then there was a subsequent book after that called The Rules of the Game.
Okay.
So the good thing, it's a great book on psychology. That must be super bitter now, mate, that tea.
That's good.
Is it?
Oh, okay. I have a horrible sense of taste in general, so...
Okay.
Yeah. Anyways.
I'll just let this smile at you. I'll show you this in a minute. But yeah, so it's all about kind of social engagement, psychology of one-on-one, psychology of like group social interactions. He talks about, there's loads of stuff that came out about this years ago when it was written, like negging, for example, this idea of being negative towards the opposite sex to bring them down a peg or two, to put them on like either below you, so then they would feel more attracted to you as an alpha kind of thing. And then there's like going kino, which is like a subtle touch on the arm or something like that, because when you bridge that gap of physical touch, then you're more inclined to actually engage in like a conversation or take things a bit further.
Oh,
so
wow. Interesting.
there's all these different tools and tactics and strategies for actually engaging with people, and that's why I gave it to my missus to read as well. So she was obviously reading through and she found it fascinating, like the dynamics between people.
Oh, interesting. That actually does sound really, really interesting.
If you read it from the perspective of how might I use this to make my life a little bit easier to engage in social interactions, it's like, oh, okay, this is pretty interesting.
Right.
So I think one of the stories that stands out is they would, to open up, like they call it a set. So if you have like a 3 set or a 4 set, which is like 3 groups of, like a group of 3 people, a group of 4 people. So if you went into a situation, like what would you say to get involved in that group? It's like, not too sure. So if you're like a relatively attractive young man, a bit like yourself, you might be deemed as a threat to like a group of 3 or 4 women or something like that. So then you need to maybe break something with humor or a story. So you go in and be like, oh, hey, did you see that midget fighting outside? It was crazy. Like, I don't even know what happened. And then all of a sudden you're in. That's like you're in for a conversation starter, icebreaker.
Oh.
It's just a weird way to kind of break the ice and start engaging with a group that you've never met before.
Interesting.
It's a really interesting book. I'd highly recommend it.
Do you think the principles are largely applicable today?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Because some things don't change.
Right.
So just like the social beings that we are from a human perspective, how can you engage with somebody in a non-threatening way? So for example, it's like, I think rules of the game is like, your task today would be to go out and engage with 3 people, random strangers, and ask them for their time. Oh, excuse me, sorry, my watch is dead and my phone's run out of battery. I just wondered, do you have the time? I've just got somewhere to be.
Wow, okay.
3 p.m. Oh, perfect. No worries. Thank you. Oh, that's a lovely dog, by the way. Oh, thanks. His name's Jimmy. It's like, then again, you've broken that barrier for social engagement through a non-aggressive way.
Do you think those things apply in Asia directly, or are there nuances that are slightly different here? I don't know.
I think in Asia, the idea of it's a bit too aggressive, but the idea of confrontation or talking to random people or strangers or anything like that, I think the rules apply, but it's the application. So, for example, how extroverted and loud and boisterous I can be sometimes, the opposite would be true. Be a bit quieter, bit more softly spoken. Maybe I'd approach in a certain way. Maybe I'd wouldn't be upright and open. I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. So do you have the time? I'd forgive me. I was like, and you'd be maybe a bit more, sorry, a bit more apologetic. Because then you come across as a bit more timid, a bit more friendly. So this is the interesting thing about everything that's happening right now. If you can understand conceptually what you're trying to achieve with certain things, it could be like from a coding point of view, from a social interaction point of view, from the basics of sales, the basics of marketing. How do you then take those concepts and put them into a situation that are going to be applicable for different markets, different places?
Right.
You spoke about like the UI UX design, Japan compared to the US. Like fundamentally, this is how design works. Okay, well, based on what we know about UI UX here, this is how it works. Okay, based on this being here, because people have a tendency to click up here or click down here or see this or their eyes navigate to this. Okay, well, if we know that conceptually, how does this then apply over here? If we just put in, for example, hey ChatGPT, build me a website for the US market. It'll build you a wow, that's beautiful. You have no concept of why it's built it a certain way. It's just giving you the thing. So it then says, okay, I want to take it over to Japan or Indonesia or somewhere else, a different market. You don't know the concept behind it in order to apply it to a different scenario, a different market.
Oh yeah, interesting. So it's still super important in your opinion to just go back, study these fundamentals really, really deeply.
Yeah.
And then I guess after the fundamentals, it's like the cultural fundamentals.
Yes.
In every different place in the world, and that's kind of like a life's work actually to really learn that bit of it, right?
I think so. I think it's like a universal thing around the fundamentals and foundations, so you understand why things are happening.
Interesting.
I mean, on the flip side, right, there's the scary thought about the AI black box. Why people are fearful of it is because they don't understand what's happening internally. They don't understand the mechanics behind a certain output. So there's the fear of the unknown. So foundationally or fundamentally, if we can start to explain certain things and how they're happening and why decisions are made, it makes things a bit more palatable.
But interesting. I mean, a lot of the things that you're sharing about approaching people and social situations, first time I'm hearing them, honestly.
Really?
And if you ask me the number of times in my lifetime that I've approached a stranger, yeah, less than 10.
Really?
I think so. Without I think, oh wait, except the first day of school. So that's
okay, yeah.
Yeah, the last time I can remember.
Oh my god. First day of what school? Primary school, high school?
Yeah, because by the time we're in university, everyone just kind of, it's not strange. Most people would have some classmates or some people that they know, and then it's kind of introduction based rather than just purely meeting strangers.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're working on a project and then it's okay, we have a project to work on. So then it's kind of there's something to talk about directly that you have to talk about, and then it's okay, you meet the people that through there, but then you never really build up this. I mean, it's difficult to kind of go to the next step of becoming friends,
right,
without the intention of the project,
Yeah.
So yeah, navigating that, I think that's actually a big gap in I think my peers, myself, I don't know, from what I see. Yeah, no idea. That's so strange and so interesting.
I think the idea of curiosity is a big thing as well. If you care enough about other people and want to learn, for me, I'm on the other side of the fence. It's and I think it's maybe from reading and learning as much as I can about sales and interactions and sales development and business, whatever it is. There's an excitement to an opportunity, and then that opportunity can have an asterisk on it because you don't know what the opportunity is. So, for example, I don't know how you and I got first talking, but I think somebody said, "Hey, can you speak to Ashvin or give feedback on Cleve or something like?" Was it an introduction from? Was it Juin?
Sean? Oh wait, no, it was Sean and Juin, I think. Oh wait, maybe Juin. Yeah.
So there was that, and then that for me is an exciting opportunity to get to learn more about the platform, the person behind it. It's like, okay, and then so that is where it comes in. But it's the same. It's the same with weekend athletics. There's a common denominator, and that's where it starts. So when I first met my mate in the gym, the common denominator was the gym. So we talk about lifting and weights and all that kind of stuff. And then you have like one or two social interactions, like, hey, I'm just gonna go and grab a bite to eat. Do you want to? Can you say no if you want to? I'm just gonna get a sandwich. Do you want to join? Kind of thing. It's like, yeah, sure. And then you start to slowly bridge a relationship. And then whether we like it or not, whether it's engineered or not, that's exactly what's happening here as well. So there was the initial conversation or introduction from someone else. We talk about like Cleve as a common denominator. There's back and forth. I want to use it. I give you feedback. I randomly reach out to you again on LinkedIn, like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Do you want to get involved? Yeah, sure, let's catch up. So then we talk about that. And then whether we like it or not, we're going to take a lot away from this. Well, I know I am based on what you said, and I'll be then doing all the edits and listening back to all this stuff. So I'm going to get to know you like 4 or 5 times over again. So that's obviously how kind of friendships and relationships start. So it's all, for me, it's the opportunity. So especially when I'm out, if you want to put it in a business context from a networking point of view, the more I get to learn about anybody I come across. So say I meet you and you say, hey, I'm here at this conference to like figure this thing out and I'm learning about this and I really want to see this speaker. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Maybe make a quick note of it. Then, fast forward 2 hours and I've gone across the room and I've met a bunch of other people. And then there's a person over here who I know can solve your problem. I'm like, holy shit, you should actually speak to this guy. He's looking to do X, Y, and Z. So it's like, how can you become the connector of people? How can you learn and understand what people are kind of working on and then become like the bit of a social kind of glue?
Interesting.
I kind of love that idea, and that's the concept I love, especially with sales as a profession. If you're there to kind of learn and understand and help people, and that's how you show up every day, then everyone's going to benefit from that. And I just think it's a beautiful art, and it's a even more wonderful science based on psychology and interactions and social engagement, and it's awesome. It is awesome.
How much of it do you think is, because like I think curiosity is okay. Like I'm generally quite interested in like what other people are doing and like who other people are.
Yeah.
But then you have this kind of fear of judgment and the fact that it's a human and you're not able to kind of like just stalk their social media and like be curious that way, without them kind of looking at you and like paying attention to you. I feel like that's actually the bigger barrier, and like I don't know how to overcome that sense of, oh, is this like, I don't know, does this person want to be my friend? like how do I like that kind of stuff, like
so you can come across bad actors, you can come across good actors. I think the only thing that you can really control is how you show up and your intention behind the interaction. It's like if your intention is to show up and try and help people and understand and learn and be curious and maybe make a friend, maybe do some business, maybe nothing at all. If your intention is one of these things rather than bad intentions or how hard can I sell this guy this fucking thing, that's all you can really do. You can only control your own intentions behind things, and how they're received and perceived by others, it might be out of your control.
So I guess over time you just kind of like get used to that idea that you can't make everyone like you, or you can't make everyone. Yeah, I mean, there will be some people who really just naturally gravitate towards you, and then there are some people who just like you won't, but that's okay.
For sure. There's a great book out there called Rejection Proof, and it talks about a guy who basically went knocking on doors and selling stuff and just asking random things just to get no's. It's a really, really good book. In sales, like they talk about like managing your own kind of mental health, especially when it's very black and white. You win sales or you lose sales.
Right.
You hit revenue or you don't hit revenue. And you become so attached to the outcome that when you don't get that outcome, it can have a real negative effect on your the value you put in yourself, your self-worth, and all this kind of stuff. So over time, you kind of learn to become detached from the outcome and fall in love with the process. So it's being detached from the outcome. So that's all you can do is execute on the process as best you can, and you can bring in your creativity and the art of the interaction and the engagement, and then obviously follow the process through. And then if you don't get the outcome you want, you reflect, you get insights, you reassess, and then you try again with something else. And rightly or wrongly, you can apply this to social interactions and relationships as well. You can turn up with the best of intentions, give as much as you possibly can, and you can be your authentic self and be comfortable with that. Some people will like it, some people won't. And for those that don't, that's okay, because you can't be right for everybody. Same with posting on social media. You're going to be posting for your community of people, right? Dear my community, these are my thoughts. Signed, Ash.
Right.
And then all your community picks that up. Everybody, like everyone's on LinkedIn, like, hey man, this is awesome, got a lot of value from this. And then be that one person that randomly pops up on their feed, like, this is bullshit, I don't agree with this, and blah, blah, blah. And they're outside of your community. And they're, they can have their opinion. Doesn't mean you need to agree with it. It's like, respect your opinion. Thanks. Give me something to think about. Move on.
Wow.
Now, it's easy for me to say this because I've been rejected. I mean, I was a average height ginger guy growing up in the UK. I've been rejected more times than you can shake a stick at. Like, it doesn't matter. Then you put me in sales as well. Like, I used to do 100 to 150 cold calls every single day for 6.5 years. I've been rejected more times than probably 99.9% of the population. So I say this because I've been through this, and it doesn't matter. And the reason for that is the what if. I feel like I'm pontificating a lot here.
The what if?
The what if. So a lot of people will be held back from doing the thing because, well, what if they hate me? What if they judge me?
Yeah.
What if they don't like me? What if I fail? But what if? What if they love me? What if they enjoy it? What if I get a win? And people forget this bit because they're so caught up and paralyzed by the fear of rejection and failure that they don't take the leap. So it takes quite a lot of reframing and all this kind of... You don't get it right 100% of the time. I'm guilty of that. I procrastinate. I put things off. Even, honestly, dude, even doing this. What am I going to say? Like, how am I going to interact? He's not going to have a good time. We're only going to be doing this for half an hour. I might as well just cancel it. I'm not feeling the best. What if he doesn't want to come? You play this like over and over and over again. Sweaty palms.
Do you think we naturally gravitate to the negatives?
Yeah.
And do you feel like you have to intentionally like suppress that?
Yes.
All the time?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Now, I think I can't speak for everybody. What I can say is throughout my social interactions with people over the many, many years that I've been doing this, across the however many hundreds of thousands of people I've spoken to and all the networking events I've been to, you ask people how they're doing. Yeah, not too bad. Actually, this guy's a piece of shit, or this isn't going well, and they can rattle off a dialogue or an absolute monologue of all the bad stuff. Say one good thing and then go on to the bad thing. And this is actually a sales tactic as well that's been written about. So for example, like if you're trying to sell Cleave and you have competitor X, they're already using competitor X. Oh, cool. I've heard good things about him. Yeah, what do you like about it?
Okay, so they'll say one nice thing and then they'll go off to all the, oh wow, okay.
Or you can even just ask, if you had to improve maybe one or two things, is there anything you'd be really looking for?
Right.
So there's this natural tendency to gravitate towards negative for some reason. I don't know the psychology behind it. Maybe someone out there can put it forward. I don't know.
Huh. It's interesting.
I've been trying for the longest time to speak to you about Cleave.
Yeah. In fact, I think for the last couple of minutes, I think it's been a good podcast where I was interviewing you. Actually,
yeah, I
interesting
think so.
Insights. Yeah,
you gotta be careful with that, man. Because I can go off on a complete fucking tangent. And you're gonna have to shut me down. That's how it is. Before Cleave, there was Whacker.
Whacked. Yeah.
Whacked.
Yeah,
not Whacker. Yeah. Close. And then before that, you were agency.
Whacked is the agency. Yeah.
But that was your agency.
That's my agency, yeah.
Yeah. No,
before that, I was with another. That was like I did a bunch of internships while I was in university. So
okay.
Like, yeah, 3 or 4. Yeah.
Are you? Would you say you're an entrepreneur at heart?
I don't know. I think.
Okay.
Probably not, actually.
So maybe a better question: the internships and the jobs before Whacked, right? Did you take them and do that work with the intention to start your own thing?
Oh, actually, no, not at all.
Oh, okay.
Wow, yeah, actually, come to think of it. So honestly, like I think for the longest time, I wanted to work in like I really wanted to. I think I never really even had the thought of starting something of my own. Like I felt like that would be weird. And also like I never kind of grew up in this environment. Like, you know, a lot of entrepreneurial stories would be like, oh yeah, since I was 12 I've been like selling cupcakes to like whoever. Like
you've been breaking cars and soldering stuff. Okay.
And selling the parts, right? Like,
Yeah.
I never had that kind of like, oh, I've always been selling, I've always been making money and like wanting to do things. I think I think I've always been kind of like doing more service oriented stuff. So like after school I did start tutoring and like I was just trying to like make money on the side and stuff. I did have this interest towards it, but not like the way most people would like, oh, I started a business and I was selling to all the students in my school and everyone was buying Pokemon cards from me and I was selling at like a 300% margin. And that's how I made my first kind of like...
A 300% margin on Pokemon cards. That is an absolute hustle, man. Jesus.
Literally, I've heard that one before. But yeah, like I think, I don't know, I think it was kind of... I was doing the internships to kind of like get experience in working in different places and like where I would want to work. And after I graduated, I actually joined a startup because like actually not so much to get this knowledge to start a startup. Like
right.
It was another startup, right? And I was working there with the intention of just becoming a good marketer and like learning how to become a good marketer. And then maybe one day like doing marketing at some other tech company. Like not actually starting my own thing.
Okay.
It was actually kind of like when that startup kind of died. Yeah, like, and basically it was a bootstrapped business, early stage. I was employee number 4. So
was it
like,
in KL?
In KL, yeah. So then that company kind of like, I think post pandemic, it was kind of really struggling, food delivery business.
Right.
So revenue crashed faster than we expected. And then I was laid off like 3 months after I got hired full time.
Oh my God.
And that was my first. So I got retrenched at 22. Yeah. So then I kind of like, I had to make the decision whether I was going to just apply for a bunch of other jobs, you know, consulting or whatever. Or like I had my side hustle, which was the agency. And I just decided to like just go into my side hustle. So it's kind of like an accidental entrepreneur. Like,
I mean, that's for a start. Okay, let's just call bullshit on that. Because like you're already doing the agency on the side.
Oh, yeah.
So
fair.
Sorry to fucking burst your bubble, man.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so when you joined the startup were you marketing?
Yeah, I was marketing.
Marketing, and then did you start the agency at the same time, or was that like running prior?
That was running prior, yeah.
It was running prior.
Yeah.
So you came out.
It wasn't really an agency. It was just me freelancing on the side and just helping people that I like would come across.
Okay.
Yeah. So
what was the kind of ambition at that point for like that side hustle thing? Was like, hey, I just need to pay rent, or was like, you said you were intentional behind joining the startup to learn the skills to just kind of progress? Was it?
It was pretty intentional about. I knew I was studying engineering, and I knew that after I graduated, I wanted the option to be able to choose going into marketing. And I didn't have the experience, I didn't have the degree, so I was like, okay, I need to somehow get the experience. Right. And if I am only doing internships during my summers, I just don't have enough time to get enough experience that I felt that would help me get a job after I graduated. So I was like, okay, where else can I get experience while I'm studying? So I was like, okay, let's start freelancing and just try to find clients and do social media stuff or like do marketing stuff and like try to get lots of different projects to learn essentially. So the main goal was actually kind of like just upskilling myself in marketing, and then just finding clients who would be willing to spend like small amounts of money to let me just like infiltrate your social media and like
so you know see you've kind of implanted these seeds in my mind now, because you're talking about upskilling, so you already had the kind of inspiration and motivation to be in marketing. Is that right? So then obviously that then translates into, would you say it's a passion for the marketing side of things?
I was quite curious about tech and content creation. So like
is this from
It was
doing.
from Edward for a large part, I think.
Yeah.
But then also like I was observing some startups in Malaysia. Like I was getting to know the startup community and like how startups work and stuff. And I was like, oh wow, startups are interesting and like tech is interesting. And then, I think as Meta and as like I started learning more about all these tech companies, I was like, and then I think there's this one point where I saw the top the top public companies in the world. And like I saw this one graph where 10 years ago the top 10 public companies in the world were all oil and gas companies,
like,
engineering companies.
Like
and then today, and then 10 years later it's just totally changed. And like technology is kind of like all the biggest companies in the world. So like, okay, I feel like there might be something in technology,
right?
And I can't code, so I could become a marketer. So that's really how the thinking happened, because like when I started to learn about these companies, I realized, oh, they actually just have a tech and a marketing operation primarily.
Right.
And later I would learn that there's a sales operation, but I didn't know that at the time. So yeah, tech and marketing. So I was like, okay, yeah, I can't do tech. I don't think I could upskill myself enough in the time frame, which was wrong actually. Now that I learn about how tech really works, and I see so many of my friends who have actually studied something else and then gone into tech,
right,
you can very, very much upskill yourself and become extremely good at tech. And coding.
I was going to say, because tech, we have like a couple of parts, right?
Oh yeah.
You've got like product, then you've got the engineering side, and you've got front end and then back end, and then there's like obviously different aspects to it as well.
Yeah, but I think even for product managers, most people still are looking for people who are technically, like, they know how to code.
Yeah.
In order to get eventually promoted into product management. At least that's what I thought at the time. Now I realize that there are actually different paths. But yeah, like I thought, like I guess when I say tech, I mean like coding.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can totally learn how to code today, and like even without a degree. And I was like, oh wow, that's crazy. But yeah, I chose marketing, so and also I had a lot of interest around videography and content, so it's like, okay, that kind of fits more, I suppose. Yeah.
For the videography side of things, did that start with Edward as well?
Yeah, so what happened was, like, I knew I wanted to learn how to use cameras, and I never owned a camera, so I'd have to kind of like figure out how I'm going to get hold of a camera.
Why did you want to learn how to use a camera?
Oh yeah.
Now, the reason I asked is obviously to have the ability to have good camera skills. If you have a look at any of the pictures that I take, you'd think I'd need to go to a certain type of school, because I was a bit special. Because like the types of pictures that I take are just, I don't have an eye for it.
Right.
And obviously a big skill now when you think about content creation, all that kind of stuff, having a decent eye for basic camera skills and framing and all that kind of stuff is quite big. I mean, if you look at all this, I've got nothing to do with this, as you saw when it came in, right? When I've been out and done some other recordings, you want to see some of the recordings that came back. They are shit. So for you, was it intentional or was it a passionate thing? Did you see content creation as like, okay, this is going to be something that's going to be required, or you're just like, I want to take pictures of birds?
Like, no, definitely not birds. But like, I think I was on YouTube, I guess, a lot. So I was spending a lot of time like watching these YouTubers and stuff, and then I would see how they have such nice videos, and I was like, oh damn, I want to learn how to make videos like that. And I feel like, after Khan Academy, I would go on to follow many other creators, and then I would see their video quality improving, and I was like, oh wow, it would be nice to kind of like learn that skill one day, because like if I want to kind of create educational content and stuff,
oh cool,
you need good video quality to get good attention and stuff and make great videos. So yeah, I wanted to kind of get into that. And then I guess like when I met Edward initially, actually I met another friend, and then that friend said that, hey, I just met this other guy who's like a YouTuber and stuff, and he had like 10,000 subscribers. It's like, holy shit, someone has 10,000 subscribers in uni?
Oh my god,
that's crazy. Like, how does he even do that? And he's a guitarist, and I was also into music, so like I played a keyboard. So I was like, oh, okay, there's a few things that we could probably talk about. And then we met up, and then I saw he was telling me about how he's making this video next week.
Sorry, you can tell me all about that. You're just telling me exactly what you asked me advice on.
Yeah, but it was warm introductions. I wasn't really asking, like, it wasn't out of like just meeting someone on the street, you know?
Imagine if it was just a perfect stranger. It would have been the same thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. So you were introduced by another friend to Edward.
Yeah. So then I think Edward was telling me about how he's making these videos and stuff, and I was like, oh wow, I actually really want to learn how to make videos. Could I just come like and just watch you make your videos? And then I did that first, and then he was like, hey, you know what, actually I have this idea for a video like instead of me just sitting down on the chair and playing guitar, like it would be cool if someone was holding the camera and could take more dynamic shots.
Yeah.
And then we could just do it at the park or something. And then I was like, yeah, that sounds fun. And then he's like, okay, I've got another video coming up in a month's time. Would you like to be a part of that? And no, actually, I've got another video in a month's time. And then I was like, actually, do you need anyone to do the video? I was like, yeah, sure, okay. And then we shot the video. That video hit 500K views. It was his first video to get more than 2,000 views.
And it went to 500K.
500K, yeah.
That's ridiculous.
And that was the first video I shot for him. And I was like, okay, this social media stuff is interesting. Because I was with him when we were watching the views go up. And then
no way.
We were watching the conversion rate to his website. And we were seeing people buying his tabs. And we were seeing like all sorts of stuff happening. And I was like, oh, wow, this social media stuff is interesting. We just made a video in our free time on a Saturday. And all this happened. Yeah.
I love that. So I want to draw some parallels here for this and entrepreneurship. Forgive me. It's like one of those.
Of course, yeah.
It's like one of those LinkedIn posts.
Yeah.
What getting married taught me about B2B sales. Like, shut up. So you had an idea of the skills that you wanted to build because you were interested in this whole idea of social media. You then had conversations within your network, and then got a warm introduction to somebody that potentially could be of help.
Yeah.
And then from that warm introduction, you met up with this person, understood all about what he was trying to build, and understood all about like his YouTube channel, and then asked to watch him edit his videos to basically shadow or get mentored, so to speak, on how this whole thing worked. Then from there, he invited you to be involved. And then from there, you went on to develop a video with him that got 500,000 views.
Yeah.
You see how this aligns pretty well with kind of the whole business building, entrepreneurship. Get an idea, speak to your network, get an introduction, and speak to those people that have been there before you, could potentially be a good mentor or show you the ropes, and then actually execute on the idea and ask.
Yeah.
Shit, that's cool, man.
Yeah. It's interesting.
How did it get 500,000 views?
Yeah.
Go on, just say it. Like, the video quality was amazing. The dynamic shots were really dynamic. It's like I captured the essence of what he was trying to do.
I mean, honestly, I don't think I was thinking about it as starting things or like entrepreneurship or startups in general. I think it was very much like, I don't have money to buy a camera and like I want to learn this stuff.
Yeah.
I was trying to join the photography club in school. It didn't really exist. Like I still needed a camera to get into that. And then, I think it was always just kind of like, okay, where can I find these opportunities? And I feel like when you want something, somehow things just align in some way. I think you just have a natural bias for finding the right thing when you want something. And that's the thing, you have to kind of want it first, which is interesting.
So it takes a certain type of mindset as well. I think was it Angela Duckworth or Carol Dweck, one of the two. It's like this idea of a growth mindset. It's like, I'm not good at this yet, kind of thing. You've heard of the concept and all that kind of stuff. So basically, what you decided was, well, I don't have money to buy a camera.
Yeah.
Now, normally for, let's just say, 8 people out of 10, that's the stop.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But then it's like, well, how can I do it? And where do I need to go? Now this opens up a different pathway to like, well, how am I going to solve this problem? So it removes that limitation. So, well, if I don't have a camera, what's the outcome that I'm really looking for? Well, I need to learn how to use one. Okay, well, how would I go about that? Rather than, well, I don't have a camera, don't have money, therefore I can't do it. It's like, no, there's another pathway, there's another way to kind of get this done. All right, well, where do I need to go?
Actually, in hindsight, everything seems to align. It's very but I do think that a common thread has always been kind of like, what do I want to learn next? And then like, where can I, like, even business and stuff, like where can I learn business? It's like, okay, I can probably just like ask someone if I can do something for them for free and then see if they'd pay me after. And so it's interesting.
I think it takes a quite unique mindset, this one, especially if you grow up around like a certain environment, which could be a small town mentality or a small village mentality. So like where I grew up, for example, it might not be the norm to do this. Like, let's start a podcast, is like, oh, he's such a narcissist, or like move to Malaysia or anything like that. So it's, It's like it builds momentum. It's like when you step out, but it's an initial trigger point where it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to try this. Other people haven't done it. Everyone else follows this path. But it's like, well, I'm just going to deviate away from this. So it's like, well, why would you deviate?
Oh, yeah.
Why wouldn't you continue to be an engineer? Like, the path is made for you. And you're like, actually, scrap that. I'm going to go and do this. I want to learn how to do this. How do you balance that kind of uncertainty, fear of the unknown? Is this going to work out? You know, am I going to make money? Am I going to fail? Like, what's going to happen? How do you balance that with just fucking get it done?
I don't think I've ever really been a just fucking get it done kind of person. I think
it's just something you actually do.
It's like, well, I think the way because I know some people can be really like, okay, I'm just gonna grind hard on this and eventually figure it out or make it right. I think with like, I mean, the way I've been thinking about it, I guess so far has been like, even at the point of like deciding whether I want to go into engineering or into something else, because like it's not like I failed my engineering degree. I was like pretty okay at it.
Whatever, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the path was very much kind of available and like it was clear and stuff. At that point, the way I was kind of making this decision was like, okay, I've got a 50-year career ahead of me. 50? Yeah, I guess if we retire at 70, right? So, 50 years of work ahead of me. What's the worst that could happen if I invest the first 5 years into trying something different? And I know that I have this curiosity and some skills in marketing and stuff built up over the years. So, like, yeah, maybe I should try that. Like, maybe I should try, like, something different for the first 5 years.
Yeah.
Right? And let's treat it as a 5-year experiment. Let's see how far we can go. And I think when you treat things as experiments.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah.
Yeah, you're not so worried about the outcome, because even a negative outcome is still a positive outcome.
Yeah.
And you can always go back to engineering if you need to. But of course, I had the privilege to be able to like make that decision and like to treat it as an experiment. Of course, I did not just start from nothing. Like I did not just like start a business straight away after university. I did just join another company first. I was running a business on the side, so I had some securities around like, okay, I can make money out of this thing, right. Rather than just kind of diving straight into it. But like,
which part of that is privilege?
I think the privilege is not having the student loan to pay off.
Okay.
And not having
full scholarship.
Partial scholarship,
right.
But I also did have like my parents are like pretty okay as well.
Nice.
So like it wasn't like I didn't need to like pay my parents monthly to support their like household and stuff like that. I know a lot of people do. So right. that is a privilege that I know, like especially many of my peers in Sarawak as well right. don't get to experience. So like, okay, if I have that privilege to be able to kind of like go off and do things, maybe I should kind of try to make the most out of it and like try to do good things out of it. Yeah, nice.
It's not maybe it's wrong to say in terms of it's not.
It's hard. Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, I think there's so much range in like what is privilege as well, and like even being alive and being around and like being able to talk and stuff is a privilege on its own as well. So it's varying stuff. A lot of times you have to release these disclaimers because of social media and like so typical. but yeah, like I do kind of acknowledge that to an extent. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a fine balance, like understanding the privilege aspect. It's like relying on that privilege and falling back on that privilege, or do you do that and just like go off on this engineering thing and just be like comfortable, or do you kind of just go all in and just try something on your own? It's like, well, I've got this safety net. I don't have a good answer for that. I think I know for like starting this or going into my own business, I'm privileged in the sense that I got good at my job that has given me the flexibility to try this. I think I'm privileged in terms of the household I grew up in, from like, let's just try some things. Go out and meet people and be curious. And I think other people might be privileged in other ways. Maybe
that's true.
Maybe privileged from David Goggins was privileged from hardship because it calloused his mind and put him in a certain frame of mind that allowed him to go out and do these amazing things. And because he just built different. Now he would call that maybe a privilege because he just does things that people can't. So it is.
That's true. That's true. I think there's this one video I saw recently where someone was talking about how all of us are given a set of cards at the start of our journey throughout life.
Yeah.
And you can do what you want with the cards, you know, like you can just not use them. Like they're good cards a lot of times, but like you can choose to use them or not use them. And there's so many, like everyone has a card, like everyone has some cards which are really solid. And yeah, you can, like, even if you had a big family business and, you know, you have certain cards that other people don't, but you know, there are certain cards that other people do have. Like, for example, if you are like a kid of a big family business, yes, you have that privilege of being able to observe your parents kind of doing business, but then you also have that thing where if you wanted, like Anthony Tan, for example, if you wanted to go and start off your startup, your dad might hate you and not talk to you for like decades.
Is that right? Is that right?
Which is, the case with Anthony Tan. Yeah, until today, him and his dad just don't talk.
No, so I didn't know that.
He talked about it in an interview recently with CNA, but yeah, crazy.
I've got a question for you about the cards.
Yeah.
What if you don't know the cards that you've been dealt are any good? What I mean by that is I can give you a certain deck of cards or a certain hand, so to speak. But if you're in an environment where you're not aware of these cards and what it means for you and how you can actually leverage the skills or gifts or talent that you have, then you're just kind of left. And then you end up just maybe not reaching your full potential.
Yeah.
I think this is a bit of a loaded question as well, based on your desires to go back into these smaller villages to do education, to help people out. And I quote, to help people realize their own value.
Yeah.
Because they might not necessarily see the value in the cards that they've been dealt.
That's true. Yeah. I think a big part of it is you really don't know the value. I think even until today, even in this conversation, I'm discovering some of the cards that I didn't realize or I've forgotten that I had, you know. Yeah. Or sometimes you just only discover the value later on in life, where you realize that, I think in your case, for example, like the value of that card of like your family, having friends and family over often, like you wouldn't have realized that's a card until like once it actually becomes useful. Yeah. I think even in card, I'm not that big on card games, but like if you, I don't know, Two of Spades seems like a useless card until suddenly it's the winning card that you needed actually all along. And and that's what ultimately determines whether you win the game or not. And I think that's kind of like similar. You don't realize the value until you see it. Sometimes I feel like you find mentors in your life or other people in your life who have played a card that you're like, oh shit, I had that too. I could do that too. Yeah. And I think that's the case with Edward, right? He played this card of like, I'm going to start making videos on YouTube. And then I was like, oh shit, I could make videos. I could do stuff. Yeah, that's interesting. So I guess a big part is kind of like realizing those cards that you have. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with the education side of things. And we're still not at a cleave yet. Holy shit. I'm sorry. Actually, no, I'm not. Shut up. So, whacked, right?
Yeah.
So you were fired from the first company that you joined. I'm going to say fired because it sounds better. Yeah. You were kicked out because you didn't perform. So the company basically ran out of money. Post-pandemic food delivery business. I'm not too sure which one it was. We don't need to go into it. Don't worry. And you're running your agency on the side. You're freelancing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just me and my girlfriend, actually. We were just like, just like, okay, she could do design, I could do copywriting. So like, I could do video editing. So like, let's try getting some clients.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And then that kind of morphed into Whacked, basically. And then you were running that for 3 years?
Actually, 2 years full time,
2 years full time. How did you kind of approach it from either reaching out to clients, getting clients, service delivery? What was the model that you were running?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So initially, we started in university together, right? So like, it was content from day one, actually. Like I was just posting the things that I was learning about marketing and stuff. Yeah. And about business. And I was just share that in Facebook groups, on LinkedIn, and pretty much all our initial clients came through that. And the good thing about content is when you post, when you're just posting value and you're just kind of showing up in the communities, the kinds of people that reach out to you are generally nicer people. So we were very lucky to have met a lot of really cool early clients who would then refer us to a bunch of other people.
Oh, nice.
And because they didn't discover us through, I guess, an ad or something, Not that we would have known how to do that, but like,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. But it's a very warm kind of like introduction, a very warm kind of meetup initially, right? We weren't even trying to sell them anything. It was just like, oh my gosh, someone reached out to us. That's wild. Yeah. So I think it was content all the way. I think all our clients came through that, and then referrals. And yeah, basically we were kind of like you know, finding things to do for them. So like video editing. Eventually, like we just became more focused on copywriting, and then we became like a copywriting agency for like ghostwriting agency for CEOs and personal brands and stuff.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So then we were doing that for 2 years, and then I guess that became Cleef. Yeah.
So is that right? So you didn't really shut it down. You evolved it into more of an AI powered platform.
We started a separate entity for the AI platform.
Yeah.
And then yeah, that agency still runs today. So like, but we just like we built up a team over the years, and then the team just continued running the agency while we like myself and my co-founder / girlfriend Lizzie, we just decided to start Cleef. Yeah.
Nice. So the agency is still running.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So you're still making money from it.
Well, a little bit. It's not super huge, but yeah.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. I thought you'd basically shut it down and turned it into Cleef, but that's not the case.
Yeah, we were quite fortunate that some of our early team members who joined us were super aligned and very high agency people as well.
Yeah.
So they were able to just kind of like take it forward. Yeah.
How did you find those people? Those high agency, very aligned people for your mission?
Best people we've ever met have always been people we met during school in some way or another.
So
like
friends?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has to be friends. Like I don't know. It's just. Oh yeah, we've tried hiring lots of people off job platforms and stuff, but like the best people are somehow always friends. Yeah.
People say don't work with your friends though.
Yeah, I don't know why they say that.
I can imagine one or two things, but you found that basically the best people that you've hired and worked with are friends.
I think so. I think from my experience, right, and I've heard that saying so many times, right, and I used to believe in it so strongly to the point that I would never try to hire someone who's a friend because I'd like worried about jeopardizing friendship and all that kind of stuff. But I realized like I don't know. I think if your friendship is, I don't know. Somehow, like, I think if everything is really clear and you're, like, really treating this professionally when it comes to the work side of things, there are a lot less issues.
How do you ensure clarity and aligned expectations up front?
Part of it, I think, is the right kind of people. So, like, I think naturally, if you know that there's someone reasonable, you know that there's someone that is, like, has similar mindsets in many ways to you, then that's a big support. Like even if the agreements and the clarity and that stuff isn't that good, you have this mutual level of trust, and like that this kind of person is a certain kind of person. So you can count on them and stuff. But yeah, I think otherwise I mean everything is generally black and white. That like when it comes to work, it's just really we are here to just like do like build a business. Like I don't know, I guess things are clear. I don't know. I think it's just really just over communicating quite a lot as well. Yeah.
How do you do that for over communication? Is it asynchronous, synchronous, in person, remote, all of the above?
Didn't have the privilege of being able to do as much in person actually. Interestingly, a lot of it was asynchronous, but I feel like you can actually build quite a fair amount of trust, even asynchronously, just like by spending enough time, I guess. But I don't know. I feel like the underlying principle is still, it has to be someone that you trust as a friend. Not as a friend. Like someone maybe you've worked with at some point. Usually these friends are kind of people that we met while working on other projects, like student organizations or stuff like that. And then their work ethic, the kind of work that they do. They've seen you as well before you're starting this business. Right. You just have that underlying sense of trust. And professionally as well, like you've actually worked together, so you kind of have that professional level of trust too. I think that's actually more important than the rest. For
you then, obviously trust is high on the agenda, and I would tend to agree. I'm just wondering how do you determine trust? Like what would you say the cornerstones of trust are for you?
I don't know. It's
No?
just, I don't know. It's just a feeling, I suppose.
Feeling
Comfort.
was subjective.
Yeah.
I mean, I could
I don't
probably
have a framework for this.
I think just plant some seeds. I think one thing I found is like having a high level of integrity. So doing the things you say
yeah.
you're going to do when they're going to be, when they're supposed to be done, and then obviously being accountable, owning up to your mistakes as well, and then sharing in the wins and obviously also the losses. I think these are the things that I would really look out for, and then see how they actually get demonstrated as well and how they show up. I think I don't know how you test this, but obviously maybe references or whatever, but times of stress, like when things are going really badly, or like high times, like what's the default then? Do you go super aggressive one way and just start pointing fingers and shouting at everyone, or do you then fall back, pull the team in, and be like, okay, how are we going to do this? How can we solve this? How do we work together? I think that's maybe a utopian thing to kind of think about, but and there's some things that are kind of top of mind for me.
Somehow, it feels like for the best friends that we've worked with over the years. I feel like we have a pretty good natural human instinct of a lot of these things, even if we're not actively thinking about them in our past. And when you say all these things, like, yeah, actually these are things that I've noticed about this person even before we started working together.
Yeah, it's more of an intuition thing.
But yeah, maybe it is a built-up intuition thing. But I think that's the key idea. Like, I think with totally new strangers, if you've really never kind of experienced things with them, it's like you can kind of build a relationship. And there are people that, you know, we've met along the way that have become like great friends as well, and also like great like professional working relationships with. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think especially like, I mean, the general YC advice as well for like starting a startup is you want to find a co-founder who you've kind of like done stuff with for ideally longer than this particular startup.
Right.
And
so the girlfriend's a good choice then.
Okay, I have opinions on that too.
Yeah. I don't know if you want it recorded or not.
But in our case, I think because we weren't just a couple for the whole like period that we were together. For 4 years of our relationship, we were trying freelancing together. We were trying doing projects together.
Right.
We were kind of testing whether the working relationship would be as strictly professional as well. And that's kind of like, I think that gave us a lot of confidence to also continue building, even after she was still studying when I was fired from the company, right? Yeah, I'm going to use that.
It's a good story. Rags to riches.
Yes. So she was still studying at the time, and we were kind of like still, it was just a small side hustle. We never thought of like turning it into anything bigger. But then after I got the notice, I was like, okay, do you want to continue doing this with me? Or should I just take this on my own, right? And you go and get a job somewhere else. So I think we thought about it. We had a lot of like clear conversations about it, like clear-headed conversations about it as well. Like, how do we feel about working together versus working with other people? Do we want to try working with other people instead? It's a big decision, right?
Yeah.
And I think for any couples who are thinking of like doing business together, I think it's important conversations to like really have. But yeah, after kind of going through the conversations, I think we felt comfortable and confident in each other's level of professionalism when it comes to executing on hard times. And we had a bunch of hard times that we managed to see through.
Nice.
Kind of like even while we were students and just working freelance, like difficult clients that we managed to work on, and like, you know, when push comes to shove, we kind of saw each other in our most stressful periods.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So I think all that kind of stress testing, you want to do all that before starting a company, even if it's with your partner who you know very well.
Yeah.
But you may not know very well in kind of work situations.
Oh man. All right. So with that in mind,
yeah.
When you started Cleave, you went through the Antler program.
Yeah.
How do you do that then? I mean, obviously there's solo people that enter into the Antler program, for example, and they have like 36 minutes to find a co-founder kind of thing, right? How do you do that? How do you then take the knowledge, feelings, outcomes that you've been through and all the hardships with your partner? We'll say partner because it means both things in this sense, both life and so. I mean, how do you accelerate that in such a setting? Is it even possible?
Well, I mean, how do you accelerate that? I think there wasn't. I mean, the core focus was actually finding the third person, right, during the Antler program. So it was kind of like, actually initially for the first few weeks we were actually like, hey, what if we tried just building separate businesses? Because when you're a couple and you're both doing the same startup, and startups are super high risky, it's probably better to just do different startups. So if one fails, the other one's kind of like, okay. So that was the rationale. So we're like, for the first few weeks of the program, we were like, hey, you know what, let's not lock down fully yet. Let's kind of like explore our options.
Wait, this sounds super fucking weird, man. It's like, oh, we got an open business relationship. It's like, oh shit. And then you go back home, it's like, all right, who did you meet today? It's like, oh my god, man.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, after a while, I think we kind of like, we tried working with a bunch of different people separately, and then we kind of realized that, okay, this is not going to work. We're still like, our working dynamic when it's the two of us working on projects together has just been developed so much over the years that we've gotten so good at just intuitively like working together that the efficiency that comes across from that, and then also our specific skills that we've developed over the years of working in similar size organizations, it was just really, really a fit that I didn't realize. I thought I could have that with anybody, but I realized I can't. So it was interesting. I think we eventually kind of just decided to work on Cleave together, and then after the Antler program, then we met Rashad, who was also a fit in many ways, and then and then we just continued working on that together.
And there it is. We are finally talking about Cleave. Cleave.ai.
Yeah.
What is it? Fucking hell! Hang a minute. What is that? What time is it? 5:15.
Oh shit! It's a long segue.
That is the longest segue.
Yeah.
I'll put that in as a timestamp. 2 hours 43. No, what time do we start?
Oh, I have no idea.
What time
I should get the time from you. Actually, I don't have a. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you should ask me. I was a stranger on the street.
A stranger.
There you go. We're not strangers anymore. So we've been doing this for about 2.5 hours, probably more. So we're on Cleave. Where was it? Was it the initial idea that you came up with in Antler, or did you kind of iterate on a few ideas over the course of like? Actually, maybe you want to talk about Antler as a program to start with, and then you could maybe talk about.
We'll come back to Cleave eventually.
Fuck no! Talk about Cleave. Just talk. Forget it. Hey, if you want to know about Antler is a early stage accelerator program for young startups that are looking to ideate and then go on to get funding. So Cleave, Cleave.
So I mean, quick backstory. I think during the during the Antler program, we did actually test like. I mean, we were really not kind of really like super focused on this whole personal branding space. Cleave eventually, what it did turn out to become is like a personal branding tool that helps people who are trying to get their thoughts out there, trying to build a personal brand online, to kind of document their stories and turn it into formats that are more optimized to perform on social media. Right. So essentially, your AI agent to help you grow your LinkedIn or to grow your social media channels. That wasn't the first idea. We went through like about 30 ideas that we listed on a Notion doc.
Wow.
And we were just like brainstorming, all the different kinds of tools that we use while we were building the agency. Like, what are the workflows, systems, processes, what could be better? Just reflecting on our own business journey and all the challenges that we had as business owners. And just trying to see, okay, what are the tools that didn't exist, or what are the problems that we had, and we just listed everything down, tried to ideate what are some solutions that we tested that didn't work, what are our pain points with all of those. So I would say it wasn't very much like, okay, first idea, let's go. It was very much kind of calculated, and I guess that's the process that Antler brings you through to like really go wide first, right, before you make a selection. Right. And I think after going through that process, then we finalized on like 3 or 4 ideas. One of them was actually like a sales recorder, which then processes your sales transcript and identifies like opportunities for you to improve on. And then at the end of the day, we would kind of make a decision that, okay, we need to be working on a project that kind of leverages some of the cards that we've been dealt.
Yeah.
Right.
See how it came full circle. You're fucking smart, eh? Look at you.
See, the 2.5 hours was worth it.
Yeah. For who?
We needed that.
Wait, savage.
But yeah.
We needed that just for that one thing. Far out.
But yeah, like I think then okay, we realized that okay, we have specific leverages, and that's also one of the things that Antler talks about, where yeah, you want to choose ideas that you have a specific leverage in, that you have specific cards that allows you to do it better than other people. And in our case, we've been running a personal branding agency for 2 years. We kind of talked to many customers before. We also understand their pain points really well, and we've also been trying to build solutions for them over the last 2 years as an agency. So I guess that was the most high leverage thing. And then we also kind of like have been working on the craft of like creating content on social media. So like, hey, could we like leverage an AI and try to create stuff that's helpful to people who are building their personal brand, leveraging our specific experience and expertise, right? So yeah, that's how Cleve came along.
Just a quick one. So forgive me on this. What's your partner's name?
Oh, Lizzie.
Lizzie.
Yeah.
So you got Lizzie, yourself,
and Rashad.
Rashad.
Yeah.
So Lizzie's skill set?
Design, copywriting. Yeah.
Design and copywriting.
Storytelling. She's and I mean, if we talk about if we talk about human skill sets, she's the empath, like the hyper empath.
Yeah.
Among the three of us, me and Rashad are hopeless, like social situations in general.
Yeah. So you've got an engineering background, and Rashad is.
Rashad is a software engineer, AI researcher. Yeah. So he's a very, very techie.
Yeah.
I would say my skill set that I could actually bring to the table, I guess, is like the first principles thinking from engineering, and then also the marketing strategy first principles thinking around that stuff as well, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, I'm not a great storyteller. So like Lizzie's storytelling skills and like her LinkedIn content just constantly outperforms mine, and like yeah, how do you do that?
I love that how you
why would you even
we've just spent how long talking about you shouldn't judge yourself based on your reach and that's cool. So so then when you had a look at yours, like first principles thinking around like marketing, engineering, then you got design, storytelling. So Rashad fills the gap of the tech side of things, literal engineering, implementation, software development, actually building Cleve.
Yeah.
So nice.
So he single-handedly built everything that we have today. For we had an intern for 3 months, so huge credits to the intern. But largely it was just Rashad just piecing together everything. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So where did you start? So you said you basically went from like 30 ideas and narrowed it down to 3.
Yeah.
And the process you went through for that was essentially what's your skill sets, what's your like history, what's the knowledge you've got, the cards that you've been dealt, and how can you then pull that into something that might be meaningful from a problem to solve.
That's one part. Right? I think another part is of course your standard business stuff. So like, is there a market for this?
Is it do actually people want this? Like, okay.
Yeah. Who would and then is this a legit problem? Can we validate this if this is a legit problem? Can we validate if this would make sense in this market, etc. Yeah.
How did you validate the problem?
There's a couple of different frameworks, I think. I mean, one is kind of like doing the research, seeing if there are other companies that have done this before. Yeah. Did they fail? Why did they fail? If they did. In other cases, it's kind of like, just one of the ways that we did one of our validation exercises was like we were trying to build one of our other ideas was like a masterclass for Southeast Asia. So the masterclass model, we'd find lots of really smart people, we'd interview them, create really high quality video content, and then like publish that on our own Masterclass Asia portal. And the way we validated that, we needed to see if the consumers would be willing to spend and like they be interested in their own local kind of influencers. We just went into an LRT with posters and like
really
we just tried to get people to sign up. Random strangers in the LRT. So the mistake that most people make is they stand at the platform. They stand somewhere near the station and they're like, "Hey, would you be interested in this thing?" Right. But then people just ignore you and they just walk to their train. So
you got on the train.
On the train.
You got on the train.
We went from Bangsar all the way to the end of the line, took the other train back, all the way back. We did that for 2 hours. And we just tried to get as many signups as possible, and that's
So that's how you validated that.
Yeah, and now, captive audience, people are just kind of stuck there, and they just have to talk to you.
Oh my god! So I mean, coming back to what you mentioned about like Gen Z's not wanting social interaction. You got these people with posts being like, "Hey, do you want to buy some stuff?" It's like, brother, I'm on a train. I'm going, so like, leave me the fuck alone.
Oh my god, that was honestly okay. So that was probably the scariest thing I've ever done.
No, you told me the last time you actually spoke to strangers was primary school. Now we're getting to the real nuts and bolts of what's been going on. You've been out there, like pimping yourself around, just like on a train, but like, hey, do you want to buy some courses? You're that guy. You're that social media influencer, IRL. Gosh. Like, hey, do you want a course? Do you want to buy a course? Like $47 a month. Mother God.
Damn. Actually.
So you basically, what was the problem statement that you landed on for Cleve? It's like, hey, we want to reach these people for this reason, because they can't do X, and the reason why they want to do X is Y. Like, I don't know if you're still on that journey to make sure you still have your North Star in terms of the problem you're looking to solve, but where are you at? What is that problem statement you got?
I think fundamentally, if we look at the broader market, we've seen how, like, previously you could just run ads, you could get a bunch of leads, convert people. That's becoming less effective. That's becoming really expensive. People are looking outwards. What else can I do? People are starting to see that brand is becoming so much more important, even B2B especially. And people are starting to see that, okay, posting on LinkedIn, you can get huge organic traffic, high quality leads, high quality engagement and relationships built over years of posting as well. And people are starting to see that as a legit business channel that's important to nurture and focus on.
Right.
Problem is, unlike ads, you can just outsource to an agency. You can just hire people. You can use AI a lot of the times, like off-the-shelf AI. But creating content for your personal brand, ultimately, it's you. It's your reputation. It has to be your experiences. You cannot just get a random content writer to just write from nothing. It's not like SEO, not like blogs. Those channels, yes, you get organic content, you get organic leads, can be high quality, but that's also getting super competitive. And you can outsource that, right? Very, very difficult with personal branding. So we saw that personal branding, you need the CEO or the key decision makers, key thought leaders in the organization, the smartest people in the organization who have the most expensive time.
Yeah.
And you need them to be actually spending hours of their day engaging, writing, creating all this content in order to actually drive the key business metrics, right? And it's just time consuming. It's expensive. If you want to get a ghostwriter for them, which is what we were doing, it is expensive. So it was upwards of 1.5K USD a month.
So you were putting yourself out of business.
Yeah, I mean, we were disrupting ourselves before someone else did, essentially. So, why not? So yeah, ultimately that's still the biggest problem. It's just really time consuming and difficult to outsource. Even if you want to outsource, it's really, really expensive. And the talents are rare. You got to find a really good ghostwriting team. Yeah. And even then, we would always constantly, as a ghostwriting team, we would have a shortage of trying to find good ghostwriters too. Right. Right. Because it's such a unique skill. And such a rare skill to be able to write for social media, but also deeply understand people. And you have to be writing like a 40-year-old when you're a 25-year-old. All those little things, are difficult. Yeah.
So then you kind of roll all this into a single platform.
Yeah. And try to get as close as possible to really highly competent human ghostwriters. Yeah.
What's been that journey then? So obviously, one of the big challenge here is well, how can you write like a 40-year-old that's running like a traditional business kind of thing? And it's like, well, now we need to build this into a platform that people can use easily, make it come across as authentic and real, and not basically fluffy BS.
Yeah, I think our core philosophy from day one is okay, we are not going to be a content generator because that just doesn't work. And we've seen it so many times. If as an agency, if the client doesn't want to meet us and is just saying, hey, just create the posts for me, I don't have time, and just post it on my LinkedIn, we would always say no to that, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. Right. And I really don't believe in that. I think if you want to build true thought leadership, it has to come from you. So the core engineering focus is acquiring huge amounts of context about the user, their past experiences, their past knowledge, and then as they're kind of thinking of things, when they're walking in the park, making it easy for them to just document their ideas and their unique perspectives, right? So we're trying to get the least amount of possible time from these highly leveraged people, and then helping them create all the write-ups and content that comes out of that, repurposing these ideas that they've already, they just don't have the time to write out. Yeah.
In terms of the people that buy Cleave, is there a world where, and maybe they already are, so your agency Whacked, is that a potential client?
Yeah, absolutely. We do work with a bunch of Whacked is using Cleave a lot as well.
Really?
And then we do work with a bunch of other agencies as well. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, if there's these like you said, high leverage individuals, they basically would engage an agency that can then use something like Cleave to then produce high quality content without the guesswork. Would that be a fair assumption? Because I imagine for you trying to understand again, it's a 26-year-old writing for a 40-year-old, and that's me, by the way, bitch. You wouldn't need to, because then you can probably either extract information from whether that's YouTube, existing blogs, existing interviews that have been done, and basically find the voice that can then be used in Cleave. Is that okay?
That's a design objective.
Yeah.
Underlying AI models are actually still pretty far from what a really good human ghostwriter can do.
Yeah.
And even we do a lot of patching and engineering around it to try and get as close as possible. But ultimately, someone who's really, really been has built up that taste of what's good writing on social media, what's effective, how do you create authority, what's the strategy going to be, all these things are still super duper relevant. And initially, I think we used to think that, okay, ChatGPT is here, it's on this crazy trajectory, we're probably going to be out of business in a year. I don't think so anymore, actually.
Really?
I think the agencies, the coaches, the social media experts are so relevant, even more so today, because as much as you have the power to generate anything now in seconds, right? But you still need to know what to talk about. You still need to understand the signals. You still need to have this worldview of what's relevant in the world, and what's your unique POV, right? And sometimes you just don't feel confident. Sometimes it's the other human things that's actually preventing you from getting to where you want to be with your personal brand. And human in the loop is still super important. I wouldn't say any of the agencies that we work with and we support, we can help them with their copywriting function so they can be serving more clients. But they're serving more clients and delivering the highest value work, which is the support, the human level interaction, the human strategy, and the sense of taste of them kind of seeing their client and being oh wow, I see where your brand could go and how influential you could become. That's still so human. And AI will be you are so influential and you could be so much more, but you don't trust it as much as when a human tells you that, when a human acknowledges the things that you're saying, and it's wow, that's so interesting.
I think we come again, we're doing a few big full circles here. It's so for example, if I was to engage a ghostwriter or a copywriter, they're highly skilled in terms of understanding what's good and what's bad copywriting. And then they can go away and use a tool to develop excellent, high-value, authentic copy. Now, they can then judge it based on what they know, conceptually and contextually. Whereas I would look at it and be that's a good piece of writing. In reality, it's not. So, yes, we can use tools as much as we want, but if we don't have that conceptual understanding about what good and what bad and what will work is, then it's kind of redundant. You mentioned, that human in the loop element, and really understanding the fundamentals is super important.
Yeah, I think with that said, I think do still subscribe to Cleave because I think ultimately, right, it does help. It does speed up the process a lot. And there are things that it can do, AI can generally do really effectively. There are things that it just can't, and humans are still important for that. And I think that's at least gonna be here in the near future.
How then, so for me to use Cleave, how can I leverage Cleave to write good content, and then also conceptually know that it is good content as a baseline or benchmark? additional work I need to do to make sure it's in line with like good best practices, great standards? Like, how do I then do that? Or have I just basically got to sign up for Cleave and then just take its word for it?
So I would
help
say...
me trust Cleave.
Yeah, I'm the human now, I guess.
Yeah.
I think with writing and with AI, by default, it does know a lot of the frameworks and standards and stuff like that, and it does have access to a large database of like high performing content. So it does kind of like intuitively know what it's supposed to be putting out.
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing that the human should be focusing on is less of like, okay, is this the most optimized version of the right for social media?
Right.
I think the core thing that I also wish more humans focus on is, what do you want to say? Like, what message do you want to get out in the world?
Right.
The AI helps you just like craft it into a more readable format. It's not going to turn, I guess, poop into rainbows. Like, yeah, you still need like really good high quality thinking. And I think, it'd be nice, like the world that I envision is where most of the humans who are trying to build a presence online, they're not focused on the copywriting. They're not focused on the growth hacks. They're focused on their message and the kind of knowledge that they have to share. And that's where our whole design process is centered around trying to outsource the copywriting so that you can be thinking about, what do you want to say in the world? Yeah.
So that's my concern, because I have a certain way of writing. Now, reach, impressions, and all that kind of stuff it's indicative of whether or not it's being enjoyed by the audience. It's difficult, like habitually, to move away from a certain style of writing. I'm going to talk about me personally.
Oh, yeah.
So that when I would use something like Cleave, it would come up with maybe a different style of writing, which, to your point, is optimized for reach and all that kind of stuff, and I wouldn't like it. Because it's optimized for reach and not optimized for maybe my specific taste.
Yeah.
So then maybe I'm gonna take it. Maybe I'll tweak it a little bit here and there, and it's not gonna perform. How can then? I suppose for me, it's like, how do I trust what's going on behind the scenes, that it's doing the best thing for me?
Oh, yeah.
Where I can, grit my teeth, take it, post it, and think, okay, it's gonna perform well. It's gonna resonate with the audience. It's my authentic voice. And it's the content that I want to put out there with the right message, without the fear of it being diluted, misconstrued, or put across in a certain way that doesn't resonate. I suppose that's a bit of a bigger question, but I don't know.
It's an interesting problem. We've actually been, even internally, discussing about this quite a lot, because people say they want AI to help create high-performing content that drives traffic to their business and stuff. But what we've kind of found out over the years is like, actually there's a balance between high performing content that actually drives results or whatever, and your unique voice and the way you would write. And we've been kind of like trying to, so the model does have context of both of these things. Like it has access to your past writing and stuff like that. So we've been actually dialing the weightage of these two.
Oh, mate, that's cool. Hey, can I export all my LinkedIn and upload it into Cleave so it can understand my voice?
The second when you're onboarding, you drop your LinkedIn profile. It straight away extracts all the posts for you straight away.
Oh, it's done already, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you don't actually need to.
I think that was a bit of a clickbait thing for you just then, because I couldn't remember if it actually did that, if it did the extraction already, but it does.
So we're in our next iteration, we're also trying to make that more visible so people know that it's doing the extraction.
Okay, nice.
But yeah.
Does it then have a look at, or does it use the data on the back end? Oh fuck it. I'll start paying for it again. So for context, for those people that are listening, I was an early user of Cleave. I've then started doing my own thing and cut down on all the costs that I have, all my outgoings, all my platforms and everything. And unfortunately, Cleave didn't make the cut at that moment in time, because quite frankly, I was using ChatGPT for like thought partnering, ideation, and then all the writing I was doing was just on my own. I did actually miss that kind of the brainstorming and the ask me kind of parts of it, and I was actually playing around with it just earlier as well on the new iterations you've made on it. I do see a lot of value in it, and I think with obviously doing this podcast now, the other business I have, and my own personal one, I've got 3 channels now that I now need to start to craft a voice for. So I think it's going to become quite important to make sure that it's authentic across all the different platforms and my voices across those without having to do 3 times the work. So I think from this conversation, you got a return user. I don't. To be fair, I don't think I have a choice, because you're right in terms of, well, your message needs to get out there. You need to be in front of the right people so they can actually buy the service that you have or the product you have that can help make their lives better. And if you don't, they can't find you, and it's a vicious cycle downwards. So it's a small investment to make to have quite a large impact. Like if I can then use it for 3 separate companies, generating 20 pieces of content every single week with my voice, it's kind of a no-brainer. Because the upside is, the ROI on that is massive. I think it helps. There's a few things: monetary ROI, anxiety ROI. So there's the fear of missing out, the fear of not being found, and recognized, and all these things. So it's a big help for me. It's like, I don't need to worry about it, because I can sit down, I can get Cleve to ask me, I can brainstorm. It's like, okay, I've got some thoughts on this, got some ideas. Okay, then I can just create the content that I want to create and the voice that I want to have for the audience that I want it to reach. So I think from this, I'm kind of selling it to myself as well.
Interesting. I mean, even internally, we're constantly looking for better ways to serve, and better ways to serve the models as well, to improve on the UX and all these kinds of things as well. So very interesting kind of direct feedback, hearing as well about the unique challenges, the goals that you have as well with this. I think it's a big part of our design as well. Yeah.
I think one of the reasons why, talking to you about this now, I can hear the reason why the company exists. And obviously Cleve as a business, what's happening on the back end is to optimize for the things that you're talking about, right? The authenticity, the tone of voice. It's like, okay, well, if I'm sat there at my desk right now, creating the content that I want in the format that I want, with the message that I want, I know full well at the back end the desires and drives of the people running the business. So the content that's being produced is of the air quotes the highest quality. I don't know what highest quality means, with the best of intentions. So it's like, okay, well, if that's true, and it's going to be optimized for reach, then why wouldn't I use it? And one of the reasons I say this is, well, I can go on DeepSeek and I can say, hey, create for me a LinkedIn post which is optimized for reach. But I don't know how it's being optimized for reach.
Right.
Hate speech, angry stuff, clickbaity stuff. It is optimized for reach. It is optimized for reach, right? So, but then you have the underlying principles of why these things actually exist. ChatGPT exists to pander to you, to make you sound great, and all this kind of stuff. But then fundamentally at the back end, it's like, well, how's it being optimized? For what purpose? Who is going to see this? Who is this going to resonate with? I want it to resonate with my audience. Do I believe it's for the right audience?
Right.
I don't have that trust in the black box. So it's like, okay, well, is there something else out there that I can trust that will be my partner from an AI point of view, that will help me craft the messages that I want? There's no doubt that I'm going to sign up for Cleve again. Doesn't it? As soon as this is over, there's no doubt that that's not going to happen. So I was working on a LinkedIn content strategy, thinking about it today. Don't know if you saw, I've got a gym on my balcony. So this morning I was just kind of doing that and kind of going through okay, what's my audience going to get the most value from? So I've got a bit of a matrix that I've put together. It's okay, these things and these tools. It's okay, well, how might I talk about this? So where's the first place I go? ChatGPT. Okay, based on Ethan Cross's work, Andrew Huberman, Carol Dweck, Angela Duckworth, there's a few other guys as well. Based on the tools that they have, what would you recommend I can put forward as a post? But again, are they the best? Are they most optimized? I don't know. But I still don't have that level of trust in the system. It sounds very boomer. But
interesting. Yeah, I think even in terms of wider kind of creating value in the AI space.
Yeah.
It is interesting how there is a lot of, if you imagine, I mean, the way it kind of works is rather than you using ChatGPT to kind of figure out what's the best way to do things, you're outsourcing that to a team that delivers that across many people.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. But yeah, I think, yeah, the sense of human taste ultimately is kind of the important factor in that.
I've got to remind myself that it is an experiment as well. So I've got to kind of break out the habit of the way I write and maybe experience something different and put that out there to see if it actually resonates as well. But there's always that, is it fear? Yeah, let's call it what it is. There's always a fear of like, well, maybe it's not the way I want to be perceived. Like I talk about Cleave a lot in relation to kind of LinkedIn for content, but I see is also like Instagram, what else we got? Is it
TikTok, Twitter? Yeah.
So all
newsletters?
Social. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Because I've only ever used it for one thing, which is just LinkedIn. So I haven't maximized my usage of it as well. Is there different models behind the scenes for each of the different kind of social media platforms?
Behind the scenes, I mean, so high level, the way it works is like we are using GPT or Claude's APIs depending on for different use cases. But then on top of the API, so the prompt is kind of custom generated for every user. So for example, let's say, and then a lot of things are fine tuned around that, but like, let's say, when you type a note in Cleave, which is like, hey, just had an interesting conversation with Ash when we were talking about tea and coffee and which one's a better option. And then that kind of like gets sent to the model together with like another agent that goes through your past memories. Is there anything else that's relevant that you may have shared before in your notes or in your past posts? And then that gets appended to the prompt in a way. And then that goes through another process of like, okay, we have one agent for the compiling research, one agent for like refining it. And then you can kind of have these multi-step workflows. It's kind of like you using ChatGPT over like maybe a couple hours or so, but then just trying to find out the best kind of like combinations of tools to help with the writing experience. But I think ultimately, like when it comes to the output of any AI model, like the underlying technology is constantly improving. So as much as even when we're giving detailed instructions to Cleave about like how the output should be for viral content and stuff, I wouldn't say it gets it right all the time. And I would say that if you are leveraging AI to build your personal brand, like still at the end of the day, it is a personal brand. Like don't be afraid to change what it has been written to be more in line with your tone. And ultimately with Cleave, of course, even after you've changed it, you can kind of like the post and give feedback to the model, and it learns based on the changes that you made. This is the way you want to sound. And that's okay. Like, I think everyone should have that sense of autonomy and control. Like, I think the AI can help with, like, the goal is to still try to help with 80% of the way, and get as close as possible to something that you'd be happy with getting out. But we're still having the human in the loop for the final bit. Is still relevant, I think. Yeah.
I'm with you on that one. I think from a price point of view, I notice you've got kind of the different packages right now. You mentioned like in terms of the several different agents behind the scene working on kind of like adapting, refining, and then ultimately creating the final post that you'll get shown. I'm not too sure about like API calls, costing, like, is it scalable? Like, if you have, right now you have X thousand users, if you then have 10 million users creating 30 pieces of content each per day, per platform, does the price point still hold?
Oh yeah. I think like it's been really important to us that unit economics is like very much positive from day one. I think there's no point kind of building, like, we could have charged and there were a bunch of competitors who were charging like $7 or $10 a month kind of thing. And we could have charged that, like ignoring the unit economics and just acquiring market share and stuff like that, playing that game. But it's just not sustainable business. And like, and it doesn't validate that this is a big enough problem, that this is like something that people want to be solved for. So we did intentionally like have a higher price point, which allows us to have more freedom in delivering more value as well. So we can do things with a higher price point and more AI tokens that that companies that have a lower charge won't be able to do. And parsing through multiple agents, like creating large amounts of memory, doing lots of transcription, very expensive things. But yeah, like I think the that's why you kind of get what you pay for with a lot of the AI tools, because literally it's a design constraint, right? And we
Right.
didn't want to design constraint ourselves to like, if we're charging $10 a month, then our design constraint would have to be like $2 or $3 a month,
Right.
right? To make software margins. And then, okay, $2 or $3, we have to restrict tokens a lot. We have to make sure it doesn't generate too much. We have to restrict the way that we design the AI, like the underlying models and stuff.
Yeah.
So we didn't want that, we wanted to build really powerful tools that would be worth like more ultimately. That's a goal. And I think it's a continuous process. I don't think like every week, every 2 weeks, Cleve we release new updates and stuff. So it's just trying to get to that point where like it is like really, really, really significant value. Yeah.
How are you determining whether or not, like, obviously there's milestones, success metrics, growth rates, number of clients, actual usage, churn rate. For you, how are you assessing whether or not this is a big enough problem worth solving?
I think big enough problem.
So I think this is, so for example, say I'm Series A, Series B investor. Like, okay, well, you tell me why we should throw $50 million, $20 million at this to accelerate the growth. And I think obviously there's a bunch of different nuances here around, well, it might not necessarily be client growth because, well, we don't have the budget to spend on marketing, so not enough people know about it. But I say, well, how much marketing did OpenAI do? Like, blah, 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 whatever. So how are you determining that? Like, okay, this has legs, and we know it because of this, and this parameter.
Right. I think it's still... I think that's a big part of the early stages of startups where you don't know. Like, you really don't. I mean, you have hypotheses, like, and we do have general hypotheses around how, like, once AI is like everyone can create AI content and stuff, like brands can be, you can create like 30 brands. I know some people who do this business where, they just create like 30, 40 brands. They're one-person show and they're just AI generating content for websites across all these different brands and stuff.
Really?
Driving SEO and then getting clicks on ads and stuff like that. Yeah, the kind of like faceless content market is going to get overcrowded by a whole bunch of AI tools that are just building like, a lot of AI bots, which essentially just create all these stuff. So I feel like the world is kind of gravitating towards people trusting people.
Yeah.
And people are trusting brands a lot less, more and more each day. And people are where like very, very strong real influence is gathering. And you can see, for example, even in the tech space, like people buy their next gadgets purely based on a Marcus Brownlee review and very little about the marketing of the actual gadgets. I think we know that this is a market that we want to build for, that we want to create unique value in. I'm not sure if we're there yet in terms of like the current state of the product.
Right.
But we are relentlessly pursuing that. And I think the market is kind of, yeah, you can argue, number of small business owners and number of medium-sized business owners in the world. Yeah, like the theoretical market sizes are kind of there. And the number of creators as well, who are also essentially all becoming entrepreneurs now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think if we strip away everything about the current product, the core hypothesis is like more and more personal brands are going to be created. There needs to be platforms and tools and support and AI agents, assistants, etc. to support this growing need. And I feel like hypothetically that's a big problem. The key challenge is, can we build a solution that really works effectively for them in many ways, right? And saves them a lot of time as they're doing this stuff. Yeah.
All right. What's your biggest limitation to growth right now?
Internally, we're super focused on product, actually. Very, very, a lot less focused on growth. Because I think, especially, I tried for a few months, actually, like really just having an initial product and just fully focusing on growth.
Yeah.
Right. But I realized that it doesn't work in the AI space. It works in the SaaS space, works in many other spaces, does not work in the AI space just because of how you're kind of like moving on on like ground that's constantly changing.
Yeah.
And if you stagnate your product for like 2 months, you're pretty much irrelevant. So yeah, like I realized that a lot of successful AI organizations today, like AI products out there, products like Lovable, Cursor, etc.
Yeah.
They're really on it. Like the second new updates come out in the underlying models, the second there are new opportunities, their real design focus and their organization focus is on product and delivering the best possible product. And ultimately, the best possible product will grow. Yeah. So I think it is slightly different from the SaaS model. Yeah.
So I'm going to hypothesize here.
Yeah.
Your biggest hurdle for growth in itself is essentially headcount and focus. Because if you didn't need to focus so much on product, then you could actually look at acquiring customers to get feedback. Is that a fair assumption or not really? Like if you didn't have, say the focus on the product was taken care of, what would you do?
Yeah, I don't think, even if we were to acquire a lot more headcount or even work with other agencies, etc. I mean, I think growth is always kind of like a secondary focus. Probably not like zero. Like, okay, maybe the way I was explaining it just now as well felt like, just screw growth. Just build product, right?
No, so for me, I'm so obviously maybe growth is the wrong way for me to phrase it. Maybe progress. So you've made progress from last week to this week. Ideally, maybe in your mind you would have liked to make more progress.
Right.
So maybe what's the limitation to progress rather than growth specifically? Because growth has different connotations for revenue, clients, but in terms of like either the product or the business model or the business itself moving forward. And the reason I ask that is like, well, I'm like, here's a check for $10 million. Like, okay, what are you going to do with it?
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, and it's like, okay, what's the real limitation here?
Right. I think the vast majority would still be like ultimately like, getting the right product out.
Yeah.
But secondarily, I mean, if you look at a lot of the cases in the last year, a lot of the products that did make it, ultimately there are some like products with a very heavy growth focus. There are some products with a very heavy growth focus. For example,
are you trying to kind of like, you know what? I'm going to just kind of maybe be a bit more cautious with what I say here. Like, a lot of the products that got out are just shit. Like they growth at all costs, and it came out it's just like garbage.
Yeah.
That's basically it. Yeah.
There are a few that I had a very high hopes on. I was like really modeling their growth quite a lot as well.
Right.
Where they had a really, really great growth team, but like, customers today just really like they just switch the second there's something better.
Yeah.
And with AI, there's always like there's things better coming out all the time. Honestly, even if like for a lot of organizations that I've been following closely, Cursor, Lovable, Bald, all these like kinds of like products that have actually made it to like huge ARRs, etc.
Yeah.
Even as they like headcount, Cursor is still like 20 people at 100 million ARR.
Oh, nice.
That's
not a bad business.
Yeah.
Revenue per head count.
Largely product oriented.
Right.
Because people just naturally share. There is a big leverage right now where if there's a good product, people will naturally be sharing it and excited to share it, and all the influencers are kind of like talking about it. The biggest determining factor of whether a company succeeds seems to be like very heavily product. So even if there was more money available and if there's more headcount, most of that headcount would actually be allocated towards hiring for product teams. And also, of course, talking to users, like getting initial feedback, but like really focused on, so not the whole performance marketing model, the SEO, all that kind of stuff. I feel like very much focused on like getting the right thing out there. Yeah.
Is this like an anti-blitz scaling kind of model?
Oh, I haven't read the book.
I think it's like, Reed was talking about building a plane on the way down with the jetpack on kind of thing, right? Whereas this seems to be like...
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
Steady, focus on the product, make sure it's whatever's being promised is going to get delivered on it, high integrity in terms of what you put forward, and then what actually gets bought. It's like, okay, we're going to deliver that. isn't it the case where, like you said, the ground is moving so quickly that it doesn't matter when you release?
Right.
Like, you're going to release version 8, and the next day you should be on version 50.
Yeah. The model of... Yeah.
Really putting you on the spot. I'm
Really
trying-
good questions.
I'm trying to give you the
And I'm not
silence
sure,
for space without kind of really just fucking tell me the answer now. If you don't give me the answer, I'm going to throw this cup of tea at you.
Huh.
That was my best version of Jason Statham. I'm a beekeeper.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the focus of distribution,
Yeah.
like distribute first, get a bunch of users, and then figure out product and get it to like a way that's, you've already built your distribution moats. And then just continue releasing, right?
So yes-ish, because I look at Cleave right now, and obviously,
Yeah.
I mean, it's strong, right?
Hmm.
Strong in the sense that it will deliver value for me. I've seen that value and heard this story, and like I believe that it can do the thing that I need it to do.
Right.
Right.
It's all that's missing in your opinion right now, actually. Just from hearing this, is the distribution side, isn't it?
Just based on what I did, because I don't know anything about the underlying business and don't know how feedback is being collected, number of users, like what's the feedback mechanism, like how much are you talking to those users, like me ain't getting this direct feedback, and how's that feedback into the product iteration. So I don't know. Like you mentioned Poland and Germany as like key markets as well, right? So I mean, in terms of like distribution channels and where you need to be, events to be at, and all this kind of stuff, I'm not a growth expert. Sales, yeah, like this idea of growth hacking and all that kind of stuff, it's not where I live. It's just interesting to see, like, content is one thing, distribution is another. Right? You can have the best content in the world, but if it doesn't get the views that you need across the channels that it needs to be seen at, it's pretty much redundant. So it's just some stuff that I've been thinking about as well, for where, like, whatever content that I need to or would like to put together, like, where are the folks that I would like to read it? Where are they hanging out? Are they all on LinkedIn or not? Is that why the impressions are down? Because what I'm pointing out don't have the right audience. Do I need to recreate or recurate the audience that I have on LinkedIn or not? Have I been shadow banned based on some plugins? I don't know. I reached out to LinkedIn about that. Yeah. So all these different things going through my mind is like, I have a product. Now, interestingly, that you could call a product a service, which is like my service, right? But fundamentally, if I have a product, which is the thing that I have, and it's only as good as how much I learn based on the service that I provide, like what are the distribution channels to allow people to acquire that product and or service? So it's like, okay, well, I can only iterate as fast as I can learn. I'm not Neo, I can't plug into the matrix, although I think about that quite often. I think that's why I'm so tired all the time. I'm refiring all these synapses. I'm like, shit, like, oh my God.
Interesting.
So again,
just
some stuff that I was thinking about. But in terms of all the limitations aside, like, how do you, what's next for Cleave? Where are you taking it? Do you have an idea? I mean, everyone's got a product roadmap. Oh, it's in a roadmap, mate. Don't worry about it. Like, of course it is. What are you selling? I was just wondering, like, where it's kind of going to go. Have you got some thoughts on that, or are you going to keep those cards close to your chest?
I don't know. I mean, I think generally it would still be very, very much largely around getting more personalized outputs from AI, and then also like getting AI to help people who are trying to get their voice out in every way possible. I think a big part of this is also just like making it easier for people to generate anything using all the context that they have saved in Cleave. So for example, rather than you just kind of using it for your LinkedIn posts, potentially, like, since you've saved so much insight around your sales experiences and stories and stuff like that, hey, can you just turn that into an article, into an ebook, into your autobiography if you want to at some point. Cool.
So again, there's a great thing from Tony Robbins that I heard ages ago, and he's just, when something lands and it just kind of sits with you well, and you kind of reflect on it quite often, you come back to it like one of those models, and it's like this idea of net time, like no extra time. So the stuff that you do, how can you then use it across multiple
Oh, yeah.
formats. Yeah, I mean, everyone knows about it. Like, it's like, well, how can you then leverage it? That's how I think about doing things like this. And so LinkedIn in particular I've been quite active on, but then how can I use that to write some meaningful and thoughtful kind of newsletters to the right audience, and then how can I turn that into a decent blog post, which I mean, I have both, and I write both, and it's not an issue, and I've got calendar reminders, and something will come and be like, write this post, and I'll write that post.
Right.
It's very straightforward for me to write, but then if there's something out there that can help me kind of amplify that, make it a little bit more straightforward and easier, then that'd be cool. Do you think you're always going to be on the copy side of things?
Not
or is it like...
It's interesting because, like, so much of, like, so much is uncertain. It's actually very interesting how, like, a lot of things that I can say today may not be true tomorrow, just purely because of, like, how... like, we're a 3% early stage team, so we also have the I guess the benefit of being able to, like, adopt new technologies really, really quickly, and pivot into things. So for example, right now the only reason we haven't gone into image generation and video generation is because we just haven't seen the use case for a lot of personal brands. More recently, I've started to see some of these use cases. For example, I think with the new ChatGPT image model, which is also available via the API, right? Like, the image model is suddenly now able to, like, even generate lots of backgrounds for YouTube thumbnail videos and, like, this kind of stuff, which is actually super helpful and relevant. And yeah, even text generation, like a lot of text in images, right, has just gotten so much better.
Yeah, I'd agree on that one.
Yeah. Video generation models, lip sync models, Sora's video generation model, for example. There's lots of new use cases that are constantly coming up. And we're just waiting for the technology sometimes, in many cases, to get good enough that we can finally use it and serve it to customers, right? Yeah. So the way I think about our role in the ecosystem is, like, yes, there's all these new technologies coming out. Our role is a curator of, like, okay, let's pick and choose the best stuff that'll be helpful to people who are building their personal brand, and then just serve that via our platform, essentially. And then, like, what are the new design implementations that are picking up traction as well?
Yeah.
So, for example, like, I think with, are you very familiar with Cursor, like the AI coding assistant?
No, I haven't used it.
Okay. So actually, there's a lot of things that are happening in the AI coding space that even if I were to tell you, oh, it's similar to, no, nothing exists yet, because coding is typically the first wave that happens in AI.
Okay.
Purely because, these are people who adopt technology all the time. They're trying out the latest tools. And then you have a adoption curve which is much slower for the rest of the market in lots of other areas. So we're constantly kind of looking at what's helping developers. And then, like, that's a good source of inspiration for what will eventually proliferate throughout the rest of society.
So this because I was going to ask you, it's like, because everything is coming up so quickly and new models and tools and whatever are coming out so fast. I mean, you're a 3-person team building a business specifically in the AI space. How do you cut through the shit, cut through the noise, and stop yourself being overwhelmed by everything and be like, this is where we should look for, like, what's going to happen next? Which, to your point, is, well, what are the developers working on right now? Because that gives a good indication of how it's going to permeate through the rest of the rest of the industries.
There are some signals. I think the stuff that developers adopt is one of them. Yeah. The stuff that goes viral on social media is another one of them. And usually when something goes viral on social media, it takes, what I've realized is it actually takes about 2 or 3 years, even in the AI space, to actually start really permeating into big businesses. You actually do have quite a long time frame. So, for example, I think about 2 years ago, when ChatGPT initially came out and it was GPT 3.5, someone posted about how they uploaded all their diary entries into ChatGPT and built a personalized model. And that still doesn't exist today properly. Right. And that's one of the things that we're trying to like build towards. But like,
didn't an engineer at Samsung do that?
Really?
It was that. I can't remember. It was like one of these huge conglomerates, and he uploaded all these like design frameworks into ChatGPT. Do you remember this? And he's got taken into the ether. The model of like this LLM is like, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it takes time for these ideas to proliferate, but they will go viral first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it JP Morgan, the CISO, Chief Information Security Officer?
Okay.
Did you hear about this? It was like, I think, oh, you're going to have to fact check this. Was it yesterday? They posted on LinkedIn a call to vendors. It was either JP Morgan or someone else. I think it was a large financial institution. And it was I haven't read through the whole thing, but fundamentally it says, slow down.
Oh.
Like all vendors are running AI. The AI. I mean, we all know what happened with Watson and all that kind of shit. Just put the AI. Somebody asked me to put the AI in it one time. Do you know this? I was in it's a large traditional company over here, and we were looking at some data labeling stuff for like it was object detection and defect detection in a certain process, and we were in this room and it was a large boardroom with like a big mahogany. You think about like a traditional kind of business, one of those, and he was like, yeah, listen, so I've heard about this Watson thing, so can't you just put the AI in it and then it'll be done, then we can do the thing. And I was like, well, what do you mean by put the AI in it? He's like, just put the AI in it. And I was with my my head of product at the time, this guy called Isaac, and he audibly sighed because he was like, I was like, okay. I was like, so, and he, it's like, obviously there's, a few more complications behind it. We need to have a look at this, and this. And he was like, oh, what's it called where you're running on device?
On-prem?
Not on-prem.
Local?
Another one. Give it to me. There's another term for it. So there's all these different, like, there's hardware and software development and all this kind of stuff. And we were like, look, we'll get back to you. Let's have a regroup internally. We'll get back to you. But yeah, to your point, like AI seems to be like, look, we appreciate like everything moving very quickly, but you need to kind of slow down a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think a big practice that I find helpful for me personally is just writing journal entries a lot. Oh,
you a journaler?
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Best habit I've picked up in the last year, honestly. I never did it before, but like amazing habit. And like I think there's a beauty in just like you have to pick and choose certain thoughts to write down.
Yeah.
And that process, it forces you to kind of like also focus in a way, and then also be able to see things on paper in front of you, and realize what's important and what isn't. I think building that, handwritten on paper,
on paper, pen to paper,
yeah. A lot of times we do have vision on Cleave, so I would just take a picture of that and then upload that to my knowledge base. But so I do that quite a lot. But like for the most part, it has to be pen and paper.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one. When do you normally do your journaling?
Either a lot of times when I'm feeling depressed. No.
Is that true?
Quite random. Actually, yeah, definitely.
Is it?
Like when I'm feeling depressed and stuff, or like I'm feeling lost. That's definitely my journaling times.
Yeah.
But on top of that, when I'm feeling particularly excited or particularly happy, I try to remember to journal. I try to use my emotional triggers quite a lot as journaling triggers, because I haven't been able to create this like super regular daily habit. I think I know it's good. I'm trying to get there.
Yeah.
But like right now the emotional highs and lows are the best times to write. Yeah.
I suppose so. You do have a habit.
I guess so.
Because it's like I think there was a great book called Rethinking Positive Thinking. Oh. And it talks about a model which is WOOP, which is wish, outcome, obstacle, and plan. But then it has a model of if this, then this. I think maybe that was from James Clear's Atomic Habits. But it's like, well, if I'm feeling like this, then I'll actually journal about this. Because so, I mean, technically it's habitual. It might not be like 9:17 a.m. or like 3:52 a.m. every morning before you do your cold plunge and all that kind of stuff. But that's pretty cool. I don't know if you would feel comfortable talking about that, but as a founder, obviously, feeling lost, depression, anxiety, it can come in waves, right? How do you, if again, obviously it's a sensitive topic, but how do you actually cope with that then? And do you find it comes at certain points in time, like during times of like difficult decision, or is it just like hit you fucking 3:00 on a Tuesday morning kind of thing? It's like, oh my God, like everything's a problem. Like,
yeah. I think especially in early stage building, it happens more often than, like, I think in my previous roles especially, right? Because like I think when you're building an agency, when you're building other things, there's a bit more certainty, where say you have like, I don't know, in general there seems to be a bit more certainty. Things aren't changing as quickly in a way.
Right.
But yeah, when you're especially building near cutting edge, for example, and the market's changing so quickly, everything's changing so quickly, then there is a lot of uncertainty, and it is really hard. And I think even when I meet other founders, I think a lot of people who are building right now really, really struggle with this stuff. And the level of uncertainty is crazy. I think there are days where that uncertainty is like super fun. Yeah, and like you're like, I know it's an adventure. I'm like, I'm in the middle of a forest. It's uncertain, but it's fun. Like I get to discover the path and hopefully find my way out. But there are days where you're in the middle of the forest and you're like, shit, I'm in the middle of the forest. It's getting
It's a bit dark and gloomy over here. Like these big storm clouds are coming in.
I don't know if I'm going to get out. Yeah.
What's the difference between those good days and bad days then?
Not much.
Really?
Yeah.
So is it basically just your mood at the time? It's like, okay, this is really uncertain. Or is it like, environment, people around you?
I mean, I'm sure it's affected by a lot of things.
Yeah.
Especially like your general interactions. One thing that keeps me grounded a lot is like talking to my family, talking to my friends as well. And then also like, I think when you're feeling really down, realizing that you have value, because you forget like the intrinsic value thing that we talked about earlier as well. You forget your value. You forget if you have anything really, you feel like you can't help people, you can't do anything. And that feeling is sometimes lasts for a few hours, sometimes it lasts for weeks.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. Yeah. So I don't know. I think I'm kind of constantly learning different ways to kind of manage things.
Yeah.
Journaling has helped a ton. Like writing things out on paper is just so important, I think.
Yeah.
Doesn't solve the problem right away. Sometimes it still takes a few days or a few weeks to kind of like get through those seasons. And sometimes it's just kind of like, it can shift in hours when you're like at super highs and then suddenly super lows.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it is part of the journey, and it's what makes the journey difficult but also exciting. And it's the same, you're stuck in the middle of the forest. It can be like the best time ever. It can be the hardest time ever.
Yeah.
And I think it's just kind of like surrounding yourself with other people who are in the middle of the forest with you.
Right.
And are like, hey, what do we do next?
I don't know, but we're here together. It's like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah. And I think, actually, that forest example is interesting, because like if you're in the middle of the forest with your best friends and everyone around you is kind of like optimistic about like, okay, what do we do next? It just instantly, you find solutions faster, you find better ways of doing things faster, you get new ideas. Maybe you can eat that coconut and
Yeah.
It's I think so much of it is the people that you surround yourself with. Yeah.
I would tend to agree with that.
Yeah.
I think having strong people in your corner, no matter what, I think it's like you. I think it's pretty important as well. I'm pretty fortunate in that respect. Because obviously you met Els when you came in, so pretty much a big pillar of strength. I think there's when you have those people in your life, it's like, okay, I'm not in this on my own. I've got somebody in my corner. We can actually, okay, let's get this done. And you move forward without knowing there is fear and uncertainty and there's doubt and anxiety, and it's like, fuck, this is hard. But it's like, okay, but I've got people around me that are going through this, and I know they're going to support me. For those people that are in your life, are they just the business partners that you're around, or have you specially kind of curated those kind of friends and confidants over time?
Oh, I've got a journal entry about this, but it's like literally a list of people who I know that regardless of how well or badly the business is doing, I know that they see value in me. And it's irrespective of like people like my sister, like I don't care. Like, what are you doing today? Are you sleeping enough? Like, or my mom, like it's like people who genuinely just want the best for you as a human, and also see who you are as a human. many friends of mine as well, who I'm very lucky to have as well. Yeah, it's so important, and I think like it's so important in the founder journey as well. And like, yeah, I think it would be so much harder without them.
I think it takes a lot of courage to do the things that you do, especially operating in a business that you're operating in, and not only that, but like being in a startup as well, knowing full well you could have gone down a certain path of, well, certainty. It's like, I'm going to be an engineer, can do this for 50 years, but actually I'm going to go down this other path of uncertainty. I think, you know, the people that are out there, it sounds like I'm blowing smoke as well. It's not. It's like those people that want to go out and really make a difference and then bite the bullet and really do it. I think that it does take a lot of courage to do that. Thinking, you know, on the flip side, it can take a lot of courage to be in that steady job, to support the family, like you were mentioning, like
True.
paying for the family and all that. I think, yeah, it's cliche to say, but everyone's fighting that battle that you might not know too much about. I like the example that you gave, like your mum or your sister. They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit. Like, oh, I built this AI thing. Yeah. Did you eat today? Do you get to bed on time? Like I mentioned before, I FaceTime my brother or something. He picks it up in a board meet and he's like, I'm busy. I'm like, all right, mate. He's like, love you, bro. He's like, yeah, love you too, mate. See you later. You know, it's like one of my best mates back in the UK, Adam. I've known him for 31 plus years. Like, I know what job he has.
Right.
He is. I can't talk about the job that he has because it's very P&C.
Okay.
And in his previous job, he was one of 5 people in the world that could do his job.
Okay.
Yeah. So in terms of level of importance, I'll get on a call with him. All right, mate, you piece of shit. And he's like, yeah, fuck you, man. And it's just like, it's such a grounding, and it's just like the value that you bring to that is just turning up, just being there. It's not like they're not looking to get anything from you other than like, hey, mate, how are you? And it's just I think it's just a really nice experience. I think having those people in your life is super important. There's some great other things I can share, like that can add on top of this, especially if, you know, you're going through kind of tough times, like, oh fuck, like how am I gonna get out of this? Where is it? There's a book up there, you see it, like 3 or 4 from the top. It's called Shift.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's the one you were just reading.
Yeah. So I finished it. It's a really, really good book.
Ooh.
So the other one he wrote as well is just over there. It's called Chatter. So it's dealing with imposter syndrome, and this one is, you know, managing your emotions and acknowledging them. I'm actually going through a bit of a coaching thing at the moment, and been given some really good tools about like acknowledging your emotions and then this idea of non-identification. So it's like, you might be experiencing depression, but you know, it's not like I am a super depressed person all the time. It's like, okay, well, if you look at it from afar, it's like, okay, what's the situation? What's happening right now? And it's like this bit of a detachment from it and observing it and acknowledging that it's happening. It's like, okay.
I think in one of my, like, I think one of the most impactful things that I did once before, and like this is something where I actually I was working with a life coach as well.
Oh, nice.
And she was like encouraging me to do this, and it's like writing out how you're feeling.
Yeah.
And putting it on paper was such a hard thing for me to do. Like, yeah, because you're like the acknowledgement process is actually really, really hard. Like, I'm actually feeling sad. Like, I'm actually feeling down about this thing. It took me the longest time to actually write something like that and to fully acknowledge how I'm feeling about something.
Why was that?
I think it's also just not something I'm used to doing. And in general, I think we're maybe taught, or I don't know, like we always kind of have to seem like we're put together or like we're doing well or whatever.
Yeah.
And I guess it's not as normalized to be like okay with like being in a rough spot and in a rough situation. So it was interesting where I was realizing this in myself that, oh wow, I'm not even comfortable enough to write this on paper.
Man.
And see that for myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that was actually a big step. The first time I actually wrote that, hey, I'm actually feeling pretty down today. I don't know what to do next. Like, wow, it was a big moment. And then I think after that, it became easier and easier to be more comfortable with my emotions.
When you first wrote
But,
it down though, like how did you feel after you wrote it down?
Yeah, it was just like this sudden relief, like holy shit. Yeah, like wow, that's okay. Yeah, and like you do feel this kind of sense of like, because all these thoughts are in your head and you don't understand them,
Right.
and then they're just like in your head. They stay in your head, and you try to go through life, but they're just in your head, and you have this fear. Well, I had this fear of like writing it down because I was scared that I don't acknowledge it. I don't want it to be there.
If you
'Cause
write
I
it down, you
feel
make it
like-
real.
Yeah, I make it real. Yeah, and I acknowledge that it's real, which is so hard to do.
But then you would not. So it had basically acknowledging that it was real. After it was a sense of relief rather than anything else.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have expected that.
Mm.
I was so scared, and I expected that it was gonna be so bad after that, but it was just sudden relief. I was like, whoa, I did not expect that at all going into this. Yeah.
It is a. You're right in terms of the stigma that can be put around these things, right? Oh, it's like I'm going to point over there again. There's a bunch of books up there by, God, why can't it? Brene Brown on vulnerability.
Oh.
Have you ever heard anything from there? From
No.
Brene Brown? Yeah, so she talks. She's got some really good TED Talks out there just about being vulnerable and putting yourself out there. I am scared. I am sad. I am depressed, because they do carry a certain element of stigma to them, especially, unfortunately, as males as well, right? We're supposed to have everything put together, weight the world on our shoulders, stiff upper lip. I'm from the UK, dude. So, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's funny, like, you write this down, and then you acknowledge the fact that these things are happening, but then you do the hard things anyway. You do the hard things anyway. So, regardless of whether or not you perceive these emotions a certain way, real or not, you still got the courage to get up and fucking get it done. And I think that's like what courage really is. Like, all of this is really hard. I'm really uncertain. I'm scared to do this. Let's do it.
I think a big part of that is actually the like, once it is written and once you've acknowledged it and once you see it, you can start to think about it in a positive way too. But before that, you can't. Like, you see everything as like this, like, dark situation. You don't know. Like, there's so much uncertainty. There's so much like, damn, like, what do I do? Yeah, this is gonna fail and all that kind of stuff. And like, but yeah, once it's down, it's like, oh, okay, that wasn't so bad, and this isn't so bad actually. There's still loads of cards that I can still play, and I haven't played yet. I just felt like I couldn't. Yeah.
Why do you feel like you couldn't?
Because I think when difficult emotions stay in your head, and you never acknowledge or see them, they attack all these cards that you think that they attack all the positive possibilities.
Right.
So if you imagine like everything that you could possibly do as a probable outcome,
Right.
The dark emotions, I think, just kind of hide all of them, and then they only see one path. They only let you see one path, and it's a path to failure.
Right.
So, yeah, something about just getting it out there and acknowledging it allows you to suddenly start like shining light on their other paths.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That's pretty deep, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, 26. So.
Yeah, 26.
I think
I'm getting some fucking wisdom from you right now, man. This is nice.
Yeah, I joke with my friends that the last 2 years has been like 10 years of my life.
Yeah. If you are experiencing these dark thoughts that you need some clarity on, reach out to your friends and your family, please. They're there to support you, and they will support you. Just want to make that clear. Dude, is there anything else that you would like to talk about today?
I think, one other thing. I think specifically around startups and stuff. As much as, we've talked about the ups, the downs, the really downs.
Yeah.
And I think this whole space is still an adventure. And I think one message that I don't see enough out there, I think a lot of people, especially in this part of the world, talk about the pains and the struggles of like being a founder and stuff, but there's also the opportunity, and it really is an opportunity to really grow personally, to develop yourself in so many ways, to live some really exciting times in your life, which in the moment may not feel that exciting, but when you look back, and if I look back in my last year as well, like last 3 years actually, I think a lot of the toughest times were the times that I remember, the times that I also felt like I've grown the most, and I think there's a lot of fun to the journey, and I think you've been kind of like in the startup world for many years now.
You can tell.
Yeah.
You've got the lines.
This is the goal. This is where I want to be one day.
Oh, fuck. Okay, we need to realign your goals, dude. Like,
but yeah, like I don't know. I think it's there is a lot of like adventure to it, and like every adventure, whether it's running a marathon, that's like, you know, going hiking in a really tough, on a tough mountain. I think there's always going to be the uncertainties. There's always going to be the challenges, but it's part of the adventure. Yeah.
I love that. Can you leave us with your fondest memory from the last 3 years?
When we had a client who threatened to sue us.
This is how you're going to start your fondest memory? That's bold, man.
Well,
Jesus.
No, I think there was, let's see. Actually, I think like, you know, we did this whole LinkedIn Unwrapped thing.
Yes.
I think that was a really fun moment in the journey. We're kind of going through that same kind of like experience again more recently.
Yeah.
Especially with our upcoming product update. But like it's this kind of like state of flow where there's just the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and you're just kind of like building momentum really, really quickly. So LinkedIn Unwrapped was like the Spotify Wrapped of LinkedIn. We just basically wanted to recreate the trend on LinkedIn. We had 2 weeks to build it out, because we got the idea on December 5th after Spotify Wrapped came out. We didn't like preempt this, you know. It was like
oh, we were going to do this whole time. No, it's like...
Yeah, it was like literally Spotify Wrapped came out. It's like, hey, what if we did that for LinkedIn? It's like, okay, but we should have launched yesterday. Okay, when's the next time we can launch? Let's try for 2 weeks time, because we have to launch it before Christmas.
Right.
After Christmas, everyone's off the internet,
right,
and with their families, which is great. But yeah, we had a limited time to like build this.
That's awesome.
So 2 weeks of building, incredible 2 weeks, like such a fun time, and we were just like ramming our heads against every blocker that came our way, and just like figuring it out, and then just launching fast and like launching broken, and dealing with customer support until 5 a.m. every night because it was so broken for the first few days. and figuring that out, I think that was honestly just so much fun. And it was actually the first time where we launched a product where we were really ourselves in the marketing around it, in the product itself. Like, we just let us be our Gen Z selves in many ways. So like there were lots of like little things in the product. For example, when you put in your LinkedIn profile and you're waiting to get your Unwrapped, we would put in some really silly copy about how like, okay, we're going through your profile, we're analyzing your past posts. It's like, oh, we're feeling really insecure about who you are. And it's like in the loading screen, you know, and they're like, oh no, we're doubting our life choices now. Like, oh, by the way, hi, we're a team of 3 from Malaysia, and we're building this AI tool. So yeah, check us out later if you're free. And we were just like really chill about it, and just having fun, and just putting dumb shit on the internet, and people resonated with it. And I think it was the first time I realized that, damn, your biggest moat and your biggest advantage is being yourself in so many ways, across marketing, across product, across personal branding. It's really your biggest unfair advantage. No one can beat you. And when we were finally being ourselves as our, you know, we, for the longest time, I think we tried to be the super professional brand, and like, oh yeah, we're a bunch of 40-year-olds building in the AI space. No, like, just do fun shit, and like release things that you think are interesting, talk about things that you think are interesting. This goes to personal branding advice as well, but like, yeah, just be yourself in many ways. And I think that's where you create the most value, that's where you have the most fun. And I think that's kind of like something that I've been rediscovering many times along the journey. but it keeps coming back. Yeah.
That is a message of optimism, which I love. Where can we find you?
LinkedIn, Ashvin Praveen. Instagram, Ashvin Praveen. AshvinPraveen.com with the rest of the links. Yeah.
There it is. And the company?
Cleve.ai.
How do you spell it?
So that's CLEVE.ai. Yeah.
Anything else you would like to leave us with?
Have fun. Yeah.
That,
Be you.
mate, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Likewise. Amazing conversation. And yeah, didn't expect it to go so deep, but very cool.
There's many more questions that I want to ask. By the way. Thanks, man. I'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye. Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. It was my goal to give you as much value as possible, and I hope you've got that from this one. Question for you, based on what you heard: how will you think differently, and what will be the next best action step that you can take? If you'd like to be a guest or simply like to have a conversation with myself and the team, feel free to reach out on any of our social channels. Go forth, be awesome, make a difference. Peace out.